programs that we have at Altamed, who is a nonprofit founded in 1969, and we provide primary medical care and a whole gamut of from pediatric to geriatric care, including adult day health care programs. And one of the programs that's nationally known, and there's 5 in the state of California, it's called a Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly, PACE. Right. And that program is one of the most comprehensive models that integrates the primary care, medical care model, brings in the adult day health care services, the in-home service piece. Someone can go into the program and they get all of their services coordinated by a multidisciplinary team, and they have the physician there who's part of the team with nurses, dietitians, physical therapists, social workers. All of those professionals are speaking daily, meeting daily about the participant in terms of what they need, with the goal of keeping them at home. And it's been studied. Research shows it's very cost effective.
Exactly, and that's a key point. Now, one of the major components, the unsung heroes in all of this, are our caregivers, family members, sometimes quite young, who have put their lives on hold to provide care for an aging loved one. Rigo, do you have support services for caregivers as well?
Absolutely, we provide services. I mean, we recognize that, to be a caregiver, you go through tremendous stress, both emotionally, financially, and there are many hardships that go with that. So we are there to provide support groups at our Adult Day Health Care Center, as well as at our main site. And we help, we provide techniques for our caregivers to be able to cope with their situation. Right. And in addition to coping skills, it's also important, I want to sort of piggyback on our need to sort of unify our voice. I think just because we are service providers doesn't mean that we can't speak up as well. Yes. And I think it's really critical that in the process of working with caregivers that we also engage them in the process, as decisions are being made by our state and our local officials, they need to be heard. And we as service providers, I think, have a duty to play that role as well, and to bring the groups and caregivers together to come up with a united message and moving us forward so that we can continue to look for resources that enable us to carry out evidence-based kinds of projects in the community.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's time for us to take a short break, and when we return, we will continue the discussion of the future of senior services. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Just a minute.
It's that time of year again, to clear all that annoying dry brush from around your house. In the event of a fire, dry brush is extremely combustible and can explode. By clearing brush 200 feet from your home, you create a barrier, lessening the likelihood of spreading a fire. I'll still be here when you get back! Get the message. Be prepared.
Welcome back to Aging in LA. I'm Paul Peterson, and today we are discussing the future of senior services and how we can continue to provide for an ever-growing number of seniors with decreasing resources from our governments. Our guests include our good friend Laura Trejo, General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Aging, Dr. Marie Torres, Senior Vice President of Government Relations at the Altamed Health Services, and Rigo Saborio, Executive Director of St. Barnabas' Senior Services. Laura, back to you. Rigo brought this up before the break. How do we marshal those very people that we serve so they can be a more effective political voice?
I think that we have various tools that we can be using. Disseminating information is critical. One of the things that we did recently when the governor released his proposed budget, we actually informed seniors across the entire region.
And they showed up, didn't they?
And they actually more than showed up. We had over 27 senior centers in Los Angeles County holding demonstrations outside of their centers where over 3,500 seniors participated in what we were calling a stand-in in front of the centers. We were really pleasantly surprised at the level of willingness of older adults to be engaged in protecting the services that they were utilizing and that they need or that they anticipate needing in the future.
Right.
Their stories were very, very eloquent and I think very much to the point that this is what keeps them at home and keeps them independent.
Right.
So we've begun to really look at older adults themselves. We need their voices.
Yeah.
We need their families. And we saw the tremendous outpouring of support. And so that gives us, I think, the impetus to continue to develop those opportunities for the community to be involved themselves. And so
Right.
we're very proud of sort of the direction we're heading and trying to educate the public about the impact that these cuts will have on their lives.
Right, exactly. And nobody gets to sit this one out.
No.
There is no place in our society, top to bottom, no matter where you live,
Correct.
where you're going to escape the consequences of these kind of budgetary cuts on people we care about.
Yes.
Who work their whole lives with the expectation, and I think it's a reasonable expectation, of having someone to care for them.
Correct.
We know this. Yes.
Paul, can I just mention, because of course we were we had several of our centers do the stand-ins, but
Right.
we also, one of the techniques that we used with our seniors at our various adult day health care and care management programs is that we mobilized them we would provide transportation and we would just show up to the office of the elected official, no appointments.
Okay.
No, they loved it. They loved it. We would go in there full force, 8 to 10 at a time maybe,
Right.
and we would tell our stories. The clients would share their stories. It got very emotional at times for the clients to share their stories because many of them are very sick and frail and have disabilities, and so when the staff would be meeting or the elected official, I mean, they were just overwhelmed to see that people would just be showing up. Every hour, every couple of hours, we had another group go in. And I think that was very effective.
It's very effective, and it is also true that many of our seniors kind of cut their adult teeth on political action. And this is not something we get to give away. But we're going to take another little break here because, Rigo, you brought along some tape for us to see some of the services so we all know what we're talking about. And Aging in LA recently took a tour of the St. Barnabas Senior Services. And Rigo, please be our tour guide as we look inside your community.
Absolutely. This is our reception area of our building that we moved into in 1987. These are photographs of our staff who are multilingual and multicultural, reflecting the community that we serve. We speak over 8 languages,
Wow.
the major languages being Korean, Spanish, Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and very dedicated staff. This is our atrium area. We like to sort of give a home feel to our center. So as people walk in, as you can see, there's magazines and areas and sofas where folks can lounge around, and so that it's a home away from home. And also there's opportunities for our home theater. We show movies every 3 days, or 3 times a week. In addition, this is the Cyber Cafe that I was mentioning to you. As you can see, there are tables there set up so people can engage. This is one of our nutrition sites at our main building. As I mentioned, there we have 6 nutrition sites, congregate meal sites, and here's one of them at our main building. We serve about 80 meals a day at that location, about over 350 meals per day on all sites combined. Very nutritious meal. Of course, there are standards that we have to meet in terms of the daily requirements and so on and so forth. And this is where we prep our meals, and you can see we work also with Title V programs, and we hire the Title V volunteers to work with our nutrition program. Here's the upstairs of our building, and we use this particular area, open space, to provide Tai Chi classes, exercise classes, fall prevention class. And these offices that you're looking at here are sort of a reflection, obviously, of the staff of the various cultural backgrounds, but they're also there to provide case management, social services. Here's the transportation. And here's one of our physicians that leases one of our space that provides medical attention to our clients once a week. And this is a shot here of our S. Mark Taper Foundation Adult Day Healthcare Center. We're very proud of this center. This building was completed in 2003. Again, we have a very diverse service staff. speaking many languages on site, again reflective of the population that we serve. And here, as you can see, there's quite a bit of activities. There's occupational therapy, physical therapy. We also have a gardening area in the back as part of the occupational therapy. And here's one of our social workers working with one of our clients. And here's a quiet room area as well. Again, the whole idea here is to try to set it up so that it's a home away from home, that home feeling, so that you don't, the folks there who primarily have cognitive impairment that we serve in the site, feel that they are at home.
Right. Wow, it's really amazing. What's the mix of staff, of paid staff, volunteer staff?
Well, we have about 43 paid staff, and we also then have about an additional 20 volunteers that we have through Title V.
And can I assume that there are many volunteer opportunities there?
Oh, there absolutely are volunteer opportunities, and in fact, I'm really, again, this is a difficult time to look for additional resources, but we got to get creative, because I'm really looking for someone that I can hire on as full-time to be able to be a volunteer manager.
Right.
Because there is so many seniors out there who really want to give back to the community, and there are so many needs that we have, particularly in these times where you have less to do more. And I think it's a great time to bring volunteers from the community to come in and help and address the needs of the community we serve.
Laura, for many years I have said these intergenerational programs are the ones I favor. The idea that youngsters, even very young youngsters, have a role to play in helping to care for our senior population. Besides the love and wisdom that they're able to acquire, they can do so many things to help an elderly relative or even in a volunteer setting.
Absolutely, and many of our centers actually have placement for high school students doing social service hours.
Great, and those hours count, right?
Absolutely.
See? Yes.
Many of them are doing that work at daycares. Others are entire classes. For example, we've been working with elementary schools to write letters for isolated seniors to receive one during the holidays. They write letters or make cards, and we deliver them with a meal during the Christmas holiday. We utilize volunteers, entire families who dedicate a part of their Thanksgiving holiday to help us do a home-delivered meal for that day. We're very proud. That's an entirely funded and operated by volunteers.
That's fantastic.
We also have an incredible volunteer program, which is really gaining statewide recognition, where we have a high school that works with a senior center, but primarily these are developmentally disabled young adults who help in the nutrition program at our multipurpose center, and so they're gaining work skills, but the other part they're gaining also tremendous socialization skills. The seniors loved having these young people, really trying to be of help to them, and it just is an incredible sight to see.
One of the things, and I'm sure Marie, you'll agree with me, is to end this isolation. These are not pockets of special needs people. These are our moms and our dads and our aunts and our uncles, and we need to include them.
Well, we all grew up with our grandparents around, and so it's very, very comfortable, it's natural, and that's what we need. But I wanted to make a comment on the volunteer aspect of involving youth in some of the settings.
Please.
Yes,
we're up against
workforce development, future physicians, nurses, social workers, rehab therapists. That's what we need.
I got you. Well, I'm sorry that our time is up for today's edition of Aging in LA. Important conversations. Thank you so much to our guest, Laura Trejo, General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Aging, Dr. Marie Torres, Senior Vice President of Government Relations at Ultimate Health Services, Enrico Saborio, Executive Director of St. Barnabas' Senior Services. And now, it's time for today's Senior Stat Shots. The U.S. Census Bureau has released data that highlight the staggering boom in the senior citizen population in the nation and the world. In the U.S., the senior citizen population appears to be headed to a 40% increase in the next 5 years due to the flooding of the senior ranks by baby boomers. The world's 65 and older population is projected to triple by mid-century, from 516 million folks in 2009 to 1.5 billion in 2050. In contrast, The world population under 15 is expected to increase by only 6% during the same period, from 1.83 billion to 1.93 billion. At this time, less than 8% of the world's population is 65 and older. But by 2030, the world's population of seniors is expected to reach 12%, and by 2050, that share is expected to grow to 16%. And that's today's Senior Stat Shot. The Los Angeles Department of Aging produces this program with CityView, Channel 35, so that seniors living in Los Angeles and surrounding communities are well informed on the many issues that face them in everyday life, and also to let you know of the many services that the Department of Aging offers our senior citizens. Now, we'd like to hear from you with comments on the program, what you like, what you think can be improved, and your ideas for future programs. Please give us a call. The number's right there on your screen, area code 213-252-4088. That's 213-252-4088. Call us with your comments and ideas. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm Paul Peterson for the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView Channel 35, and all of our guests on Aging in LA. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you the next time.
Some things are pretty much a sure bet. Some things are predictable. And some things you just don't know unless you have ESP, an emergency survival program that prepares you for emergencies or just the plain old unexpected. You can't predict, but you can prepare.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35.
Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the City Council meeting for Friday, March 4th, 2011. We're here in the John Ferraro Council Chamber, room 340 of City Hall. We're here on Tuesdays, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and we are also broadcast live on Channel 35, as well as in the evenings rebroadcast for your convenience. We want to welcome all the members of the public who are here today for our meeting, as well as those who are viewing us on Channel 35 or over the Internet or telephone. You can use your telephone and call into 213-621-CITY and listen into our council and our committee meetings. Also, you can use the Internet by going to our city's homepage at lacity.org and listen into any of our live streaming video of council meetings and our archived footage of past council meetings as well. Also online are our agendas for all the items that we consider each council meeting, and which ones are noticed for public hearing and which ones have already had public hearings. If you wish to be heard on any of those items, or for our general public comment, which is for items not on today's agenda but nevertheless under our jurisdiction, please fill out a speaker card in the back, and then we will be happy to hear your comments if we've not yet had a public hearing in committee. I want to thank those council members who are here on time. Council members Cardenas, Koretz, Krikorian, Rosendahl, Wesson, and Zine. That takes us with myself to 7 members. Mr. Alarcon, Labange, Parks, Perry, and Smith are excused today, so we do need Ms. Hahn and Mr. Weezar to join us, as well as Mr. Reyes, as soon as possible. We, on each Friday, have very special presentations for individuals and organizations, notable dates, occasions, and commemorations, and we do have 6 presentations prepared for today, and I believe that Mr. Rosendahl is ready. Is that correct? All right, I'd like to recognize for our first presentation Bill Rosendahl of the 11th Council District.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues of the great Los Angeles City Council. The Venice High School is coming in. They're coming up to me right now, folks. The Venice High School junior varsity football team is made up, come on right around me, of about 40 students, primarily in the 9th and 10th grade. This is a very important time in a student's life when they will develop the work ethic they are likely to maintain the rest of their lives, frankly. The football coaches at Venice High School want their players to be successful in all aspects of their lives. While the team did go undefeated in the league during the fall of 2010 season, let's just give that round of applause for that. The most significant event that came out of the season is that for the first time in recent memory, the entire team maintained academic eligibility. That's key. And you want to know, where's the coach? Where's Angelo Casca? Coach, where are you? Come on up. Get in the limelight where you belong. Give him a round of applause. You know, when you're a team, you're not just a team when you're playing, but you're a team of people committed socially to each other. Come on up, Coach. Where are you, Coach? All right, big guy, get up right up in here. What he was able to do is obtain 8 computers and a printer through donations for a corrective room that the players could use during lunch and after school. They created a team environment off the field geared toward academics. In other words, they hung out with each other and they started thinking about the other parts of their lives and how they could work and go forward. During that time, students that were strong in one subject could help students who needed a better understanding. The main goal of the Venice football coaches was to instill the idea that they had the capacity to do more if they put their minds to it. This was done through a trickle-down effect that started with the head coaches to encourage everyone to do better. As the season went on, the level of commitment had improved both athletically and academically. The players have learned that if they commit, care, and believe in what they are doing, they can achieve a new level of success. Congratulations to everybody here for doing it on the field and doing it in the classroom at the same time. And we have some stuff here. Come on over, Cecilia. What do you got there? Okay, we got certificates to give out. First, to the Venice High School Junior Varsity Football Team, on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, I'd like to congratulate the Venice High School Junior Varsity Football Team on a successful fall 2010 season. Not only did the team go undefeated in the league, but every student maintained academic eligibility. The team's hard work paid off on the field and in the classroom. Who's going to get this one?
This is Coach Dawson, the head coach of the junior.
Coach, you just take that. Congratulations on that, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Who you got next? And this is for the big coach there. Same message. Congratulations. Okay.
That's Coach Dawson.
To what?
This is Coach Dawson.
There you go. This is to you, and then we'll give that to you. And let's you'll take that one. All right, right. What are you? You're the head guy.
Yeah.
All right. What's your name?
Marcus.
Marcus. Let's give him a round of applause. Now who's Gary? Gary, come on over. Come on out. Get in the light, Gary. You coaches really made a difference. There's one for you as well.
Thank you very much. He's a Culver City police officer.
And he's a Culver City police officer that volunteers his time on this. Let's give him a special round of applause.
And a Venice graduate.
And a what? And a Venice graduate. And by the way, Venice is celebrating its 100th anniversary, so this is all within that context too. And who's this?
This is Coach DeMoss right here.
Coach DeMoss, another great guy. Thank you. Thank you. Another Venice graduate.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure. Okay, why don't you say a couple of words, Coach, on what you just did?
I really can't take credit for this. These coaches, the JV coaches, are incredible, and they really give so much more than they get. And for these young guys, incredible. They're the future of not only of our football program, but of our community. And they really are making a difference. And they're just a special group of guys. Can't thank you enough for having us here today. It's a great experience. I'm a Venice graduate, so it's a very special day to us. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Let's go right in through there. Follow her.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Next, we have Council Member Ed Reyes.
One at a time.
Yeah, we do have 11 members. Please call the roll in the meantime.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Courage, Corey, and Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 11 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Labange seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Cardenas moves and Mr. Krikorian seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. If we can run through the agenda, colleagues, if any special items, and then Mr. Reyes will make his presentation. First items, please.
Mr. President, items 1 through 6 are items for which public hearings have been held. There is a request from member to continue item 4 to March 9th.
Okay, let's open the public hearing, and we'll continue item 4 until the 9th. Folks that are here on that one will be taking that up next Wednesday. Any other specials 1 through 6, colleagues? If none, let's go ahead and prepare the roll, and please tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, 7 through 21, I believe.
Items 7 through 21 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right, if there's no objection, those are before us. Let's hold 7 as an ordinance, so we may have 12 members. Actually, we do not expect, I think, any of these individuals today.
We need to amend that. There's some...
We need to amend it? Okay, we'll hold it on the desk anyway. Do we have cards on any of the other items?
Sir, we do. Item 8, 14, and 18.
Okay, we'll call this special for cards and close the public hearings on the other. Excuse me, Mr. He just mentioned the cards. If you please sit down and not disrupt the meeting, Mr. Walsh. We'll call those special for cards. The others we will close the public hearings for. Any other specials from colleagues? If not, please open the roll on the balance. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved, and the continuation... Sorry?
Forthwith on 16, please.
16 forthwith without objection. and one forthwith without objection. If we can go to item 22 on the continuation agenda.
On the continuation agenda, item 22 is an item for which a public hearing has been held. There is a request from a member to continue this matter to March 9th.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll continue 22 till the 9th as well. And we'll wait on the special meeting, and with that, return to our presentations, and Mr. Reyes will be our next presenter.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Buenos dias. It's with a great honor that I stand here before you with our guest, Justice Carlos R. Moreno. Justice Moreno was sworn in as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of California on October 18, 2001, following his nomination by Governor Gray Davis. The son of Mexican immigrants who grew up in East Los Angeles, Justice Moreno was the California Supreme Court's only Democratic appointee and Latino member. He graduated from the JD program at Stanford Law School in 1975 and in 1970 from Yale University with a BA in Political Science. Justice Moreno began his career as a Deputy City Attorney with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, prosecuting criminal and civil consumer protection cases and handling politically sensitive and legislative matters as special counsel to the City Attorney. In the fall of 1986, Governor George Deukmejian appointed Justice Moreno to the Municipal Court, where he handled general criminal matters and supervised the court's civil department. In October 1993, he was elevated to Los Angeles County Superior Court, and in 1998 was nominated to the federal bench by President Bill Clinton, where he served for over 3 years. He has served on the Board of Visitors of Stanford Law School, Board of Governors of the Association of Yale Alumni. He's also a director of the Royal Vista Family Health Center and a former president of the Yale Club of Southern California. Justice Moreno retired on February 28, 2011. And colleagues, I felt very honored when upon my request, I asked if he would join us today so we could honor him to make this Carlos R. Moreno Day in the city of Los Angeles. And it was significant because what we need to understand is that this is a gentleman who went to Nightingale Junior High in Cypress Park in the Northeast, graduated from Lincoln High School in some very turbulent times, and I believe was part of or associated with the Lincoln Heights walkouts, the blowouts, más o menos, South Castro. That's another important person in our history. And for me, he has been an inspiration. I was aware of him since the late 80s, early 90s. We spoke of him and watched his career just blossom into higher and higher levels of influence. With that understanding, when I would speak to the students, I would refer to Justice Moreno as a graduate from Nightingale. When I spoke with the youth from Northeast, I would challenge the youth from Lincoln High School, which has, unfortunately, a very high dropout rate, to look at his career as an inspiration to continue through the struggles that we know in Northeast. I met him in a very interesting way. There's a restaurant called La Llamarada. It's a great little Mexican restaurant in Lincoln Heights across from the Boys and Girls Club. And you would miss it if you blinked an eye. But they have the greatest tortas de lengua there in the city. And it turns out that we both have, that's both of our favorite plates. And we happened to be there. The person serving us the food let me know, did you know there's a very important person here? And I went and introduced myself. And there we were. I think a few occasions ran into each other. But more than that, I believe his influence at Cathedral High School, he's a booster there. I see him go to many of the events, and it's just been amazing the influence he has had in the Northeast and in Los Angeles and in the region, if not the state. When I asked him to administer the oath, when I became council member for my third term, I was very honored to have him with me. I'd like to conclude, but before I do that, I'd like to ask my colleagues to share a few words about Justice Carlos R. Moreno. Council President?
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes, and I'll be brief. I just want to thank Justice Moreno, who has been an inspiration to a generation of leaders. When my father, as a Latino lawyer for the first time running for district attorney, Ed Roybal, told him that absolutely he should do it at a time he had almost no support. Over the years, I know my father has spoken about how important it was to see Latinos who became judges and Latinos who became scholars in the legal profession to inspire him to go forward. But one thing that Justice Moreno has done consistently is as he's gone up the ladder, he has always brought people with him. He's been a mentor to so many friends of mine as young lawyers coming here, Latino, non-Latino, somebody who gives them good advice, who's very loyal to them, and who always keeps the best interest of justice in mind. That justice has to be dispassionate, but it doesn't have to be unpassionate. That it can have impartiality, but you can also have opinions that change the way we look at the world and the impact that we have on everyday lives out there. I'm so proud to be a part of declaring this day here today in the city of Los Angeles because, to quote Tom LeBon, this truly is an angel in our city of angels, somebody who grew up right across the Elysian Park from where I've lived for the last 10 years and now resides in Eagle Rock. A great LA story, and congratulations, and thank you. We look forward to reading this next chapter as you move forward here today. We brought all these people from Eagle Rock just to support you here today.
Thank you very much. Today it's an honor, but also at the same time it teaches me a lesson. The next time I support somebody to become a state Supreme Court justice, I should ask them, and how long do you plan on serving? We were hoping you'd be there forever, Judge Moreno. But the impact that you've made on the state of California through your professionalism and being one of the best judges we've ever seen is something that is a testament to your abilities and the fact that you're a good man. When I remember talking to Gray Davis along with Senator Polanco and the Latino caucus members of the legislature, when you did get that appointment by Gray Davis, we first spoke about the fact that you're a gentleman and you're a scholar. And you have a track record that certainly warrants being elevated to be a Supreme Court justice for the state of California. By the time we got around to mentioning, by the way, he's Latino, Gray Davis was convinced that you were the person for the job. And I'm very proud to say that. Because not everybody, or shall I say very few people, who grow up in the neighborhoods that we've all grown up in, are able to get into Stanford and graduate, are able to get into Yale and graduate, and then go beyond that and create such a stellar record. As Councilmember Reyes mentioned, you are definitely a role model, and you are definitely somebody that our children and families should look up to. But more importantly, you have earned the respect of elected officials and families and individuals across the state of California, I believe, not only as a role model for Californians, but a role model for all Americans. And that's one of the things I want to point out. I kid you not, when we talked to Gray Davis about considering you for an appointment, by the time we got around to say that, by the way, he's a Latino like the rest of us who are talking to you, Governor, he was already sold that you were the person for the job. And that's something that makes me very proud. So today, it's my honor and privilege to give my few words of congratulations, and remiss that you will be stepping down from the bench and going on to, I'm sure, I don't know how you go to bigger and better things after being in the state Supreme Court. Maybe it's a federal appointment. Is there going to be an opening on the U.S. Supreme Court soon? Well, if there is, I am going to push your name, and I'm not going to ask you for permission. I'm going to push your name, and then I'm going to talk to you about and try to convince you that that is the next place that you should be. But in the meantime, we wish you well, and we thank you for your many decades of service to the people of California, and also for being the kind of person that we all wish we could be. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. And Justice Moreno, on behalf of the city, on behalf of this great country, I want to thank you for your service on the California State Supreme Court. You, as Reyes mentioned, are not only a role model, but truly an example of what could be achieved in this country for all our young people if they are given that opportunity to succeed. You certainly, when we talk about the American dream, could point to you as someone who has reached that American dream with hard work and also with a determination to do your best in whatever you've done. What I like most about your life story, Justice Moreno, is that you've never forgotten where you've come from. I've noticed that through the many invitations of organizations or schools in the area, you always accept them. You're always there, whether it was the Mexican American Bar Association or schools in the area that wanted to hear from the Supreme Court Justice. You were there, available, and one of the most accessible Supreme Court justices we've seen in a very long time. So I wanted to thank you for that. I know for me, you've always been a role model, not only as someone that I've aspired to be in the legal arena, but also as someone who has laid out for themselves a steady hand with thoughtfulness and a lot of care about the work you do. So thank you so much. I'm very proud to say you're a Council District 14 resident. Very proud to say you live in beautiful Eagle Rock. I'm very proud to say you grew up on the east side. But there's only one thing that you and I differ on, Justice Moreno, and that is that you went to my rival high school, Cathedral, and I went to the wonderful Salesian High School. Lincoln. But you're on the...
Let's set the record straight. He went to Lincoln. Oh, there you go.
Yes, we also
There's enough of Justice Moreno going around, Councilman Huizar. But we do have other colleagues.
And Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. From the folks of the San Fernando Valley, Justice, I want to congratulate you. You're surrounded by my Latino colleagues, but you on the bench have represented all people, and you've done it in a very, very professional fashion. I've seen you at many events. As been stated, you go to the community, you're with the community, you're part of the community, and it's unusual to see justices actually out there mingling with the rest of society, and you have done that continuously. I wish you well in your retirement, well earned, but you have been such a professional on that bench and done the job for the people in such a professional manner. I want to congratulate you on behalf of all the people that are in this huge environment that you represent on the bench. So congratulations, best wishes. It's not only the Latinos support you, but the Lebanese support you too. God bless you.
Thank you. And Mr. Reyes, I know you mentioned earlier about Sal Castro. I believe Sal Castro was your Little League coach, if I got that right. So there's the connection. Mr. Reyes, what a great morning. Please continue.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to ask Justice Moreno to share a few words, and then I'll conclude with the last declaration. Justice Moreno. Thank you, Council members, and thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilman Reyes, for this most distinguished honor that you've bestowed upon me. In reflecting upon today's occasion, it was almost 100 years ago that my family immigrated from Mexico to this very city. I recall my uncle who raised us being here in 1927 when this very edifice was dedicated. It is a tremendous monument and testament to the greatness of this city that all of you have elected to be public servants, to devote your time and energy to the governance of this great city. I love this city. I love its history. I wouldn't live anywhere else, from my early beginnings in Boyle Heights General Hospital, where I was born, to where I was raised in the Solano Canyon, to seeing the construction of Dodger Stadium and attending the very first game at Dodger Stadium in April of 1962, to now living in Eagle Rock and really knowing all the environs and restaurants and other fantastic cultural elements of this city. It really is, to me, an indication that I truly am an L.A. homeboy. And believe me, having served on the California Supreme Court for the last 10 years, a distinctive honor in itself, and being with San Francisco residents and San Francisco Giant fans, I've taken a lot of heat for defending the pride and honor of this great city. So I thank the council members, I thank you, Councilman Reyes and Mr. President, for this wonderful honor. I'm sure never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined such an honor coming my way, and my family who came to this city almost 100 years ago truly would be very proud of what you've bestowed upon me this day. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Very special. Thank you, Justice.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the adoption of this resolution, the Los Angeles City Council does hereby declare March 4th, 2011 as Associate Justice Carlos R. Moreno Day in recognition of his dedicated service to the people of the city of Los Angeles. Justice Moreno came to the bench with a brilliant legal mind, a tenacious work ethic, and a commitment to social justice. He administered justice efficiently and with sensitivity. Justice Moreno leaves the bench as a role model for our youth and an example of wisdom, leadership, and compassion. Congratulations, Justice Moreno. Yes. Unanimous resolution signed by the mayor.
Thanks again, Mr. Reyes. Beautiful job. Now we'd like to call on Mr. Weezar for a special presentation, and Mr. Clerk, forthwith on item 1 and forthwith on item 15.
We all come up. Two folks from Eagle Rock want to come on up?
Thank you very much for the birthday proclamation.
Okay, no problem.
That was unusual.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. And as our residents from Eagle Rock come up to the podium, I wanted to point that as Justice Moreno's family first came to this country 100 years ago, today we are also celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Eagle Rock community in the city of Los Angeles. Eagle Rock officially turned 100 on Tuesday, March 1st, and we are honored to be here this morning as we celebrate the official designation of Eagle Rock Day in the city of Los Angeles. You see, Eagle Rock was founded as a city 100 years ago and was then incorporated into the city of Los Angeles. And since then, it's kept its small town feel in this large metropolitan area where neighbors know neighbors, and you could find anything you need in our beautiful local community of Eagle Rock. We have much more to say, but right now, I wanted to present to you one of the treasures of Eagle Rock, and that is a performance by our young people. Please welcome Rona Greenberg and the students at Dahlia Heights Elementary School to perform a very brief but special presentation of the history of Eagle Rock. You guys ready? You guys ready? Okay, let's go. Oh, Dahlia's over here. Okay. Yes.
They're coming. They're coming. There's questions.
Somebody else gets here in a long time.
I can't believe it. Me too. Not here.
Did you see your mayor?
Your office manager is not going to either.
Residuals.
They're adorable.
Here's a t-shirt.
Well, you guys are from Eagle Rock Elementary. Okay, that's Dahlia.
Such a Dahlia. The scene from John Steinbeck right here. John Steinbeck. Everybody else can please step back. Okay. Everyone else is right up here. John Steinbeck, get ready.
Good morning, Los Angeles City Council. We are from Dahlia Heights Elementary, and we are the students of Room 1. And our teacher is Miss Patty Griffith, and our principal is Miss Greenstack. We will be doing a play of the Adventures of Eagle Rock then and now. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Scene. Famous novelist renting room in Eagle Rock. Castle Crab, a mirror in Eagle Rock owned by Emma and Charles Young in the first half of the 20th century. Who are you? Charles Stumblewood. Can we help you? My name is John Steinbeck. I'm looking for a room to rent. I heard you have a big house here. You mean John Steinbeck, who wrote Of Mice and Men? That's me. I just need to rent a room. Okay, I'll lead you to the room. This room is amazing. I'll never mess it up. I just need to write a story, kind of a big story. What do you plan to call it? I think I'll call it Grapes of Wrath. That's a weird name. Nobody will buy a book with that name. Charles, don't be weird. But really, John, am I writing a book about angry grapes? Not exactly. The next scene is Did You Know? A few more facts from Eagle Rock's history. What are we facing? Did you know? The first people to live by the rock were the Tonga Native Americans. They were hunters and gatherers. The main food is acorn. They made acorn mushroom meat and ate it cold. Did you know? Eagle Rock was once an incorporated city for a short period of time in the early 1900s. Did you know? Famous architects in Eagle Rock were very busy in the 20th century. The Eagle Rock Recreation buildings were designed by Richard Neutra. August Schindler built a famous modernist building that got torn down for the 134 freeway. Myron Hunt designed Oxy buildings and also the Rose Bowl. Barack Obama attended Occidental College and became President of the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause to the students from Dahlia Heights Elementary. I think Dahlia Heights also turned how old this year?
It's over 100 years.
Over 100 years, right? We went to the celebration recently of over 100 years. And I want to also welcome and acknowledge the students from the first and second grade classes here from Eagle Rock Elementary School. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for being here. And I want to give a big thank you to all the community members who are here. I see so many great groups of individuals and different groups that make up Eagle Rock, from the Chamber of Commerce to Terra to the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council and so on. And that is what makes Eagle Rock so special. It's an active community that maintains and improves the quality of life there. There is a genuine love of the community and so many willing volunteers to make sure that Eagle Rock always remains a great treasure. And right now I would like to introduce to you the president of the Eagle Rock of Terra, who's going to say a few words, Bob Gotham. Bob? give them some space so you could come up. Thank you. Thank you.
I've lived in Eagle Rock for about 25 years, and there are people here today from Eagle Rock who would say I'm a newbie in the community. It's a place that when you move there, you stay there because it's a great place to be. The things that make it extraordinary to me are, first of all, the diversity. There's an ethnic diversity, an economic diversity, and there are a huge amount of diversity in the professions that people follow. Something that's unusual about our community is LAUSD Works. We have an extraordinary high school that consistently has students that perform at amazing levels. As Jose mentioned, people really care about Eagle Rock, and they get involved. It's a small-town atmosphere. We don't have the huge traffic jams that are experienced in other areas of town. The businesses, for the most part, are not chains, but they're small businesses. And when you go in and you do business, you're very often doing business with the owner of that business. And you get to know them. When you walk on the street, I almost always bump into someone whom I know. I'm not surrounded by strangers. I happen to think that Eagle Rock offers the best that Los Angeles has to offer, the richness of living in a small-town community, and still we're only 15 minutes away from all that the city of Los Angeles offers. Thank you very much for honoring our community today.
Thank you very much, Bob. And last Saturday, we kicked off a full year of Eagle Rock Centennial celebrations with a great event at the Eagle Rock Center for the Arts. And we have some representatives here, Dominique is here from the Eagle Rock Center for the Arts. Already scheduled, we will have a special Centennial 4th of July fireworks show and a special Veterans and Centennial Parade and many other exciting events. But I also want to recognize at this time Eric Warren from the Eagle Rock Valley Historical Society. I don't know if he's here. He's in Italy. He's in Italy. And he put together this beautiful, beautiful calendar that has pretty much tells the history of Eagle Rock. And at this time, I wanted to present this to our council member, Tom LaBonge, because he is always known for knowing the history in the city of Los Angeles. And we want you to know the history of Eagle Rock because it has such a wonderful history here in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much, Mr. LaBonge. And with that, I wanted to present to the community Eagle Rock a resolution from the City of Los Angeles declaring today Eagle Rock Day in the City of Los Angeles after 100 years of maintaining the quality of life there. But before I do that, Mr. Miller is going to share a few words with us. He is a longtime resident there and has so much to say about our wonderful community. Mr. Miller, you could stay there, and instead of parting the sea here with the kids, you could speak on this microphone.
Okay. I just want to thank you for everything that this community has done, and it's a wonderful community, and you are wonderful, wonderful people, and everybody is wonderful in Eagle Rock, and I am so happy to live here for since 1929 or 39. So it's the community. I have grown up with the community, graduated from Eagle Rock High School, and I feel a part of the community, and I am so happy to live here. Thank you.
And thank you very much. So if I could read the final resolve clauses for this resolution that we are presenting today, it says, now therefore be it resolved that by adoption of this resolution, the City Council hereby recognizes the historical contributions of the community of Eagle Rock on the occasion of its centennial celebration and declares March 4th, 2011 as Eagle Rock Day in the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations. Here's the resolutions. And thank all of you for being so active in our community that's made it such a wonderful place to live, work, and play. And to our young people, this is a very special day, declaring 100 years of Eagle Rock's existence. I hope you get to see the 200th year celebration. Thank you so much, and we are ready to go upstairs to celebrate at the Tom Bradley room. Yes,
we
Mr.
got a couple
Talmadon.
I just want to rise again and salute you as council member for helping this wonderful celebration. Los Angeles is a city of great neighborhoods, and Eagle Rock is one of the great neighborhoods. And when someone talked about traffic, there was a concerted effort by the people of Eagle Rock not to have a direct off-ramp from the state route to come through the neighborhoods. That made a big difference. And there was a concerted effort to have at Figueroa that on-ramp that once was the thought of the freeway coming straight down Colorado, and you protected it. But also the Rock. There's nothing like the Rock. And you can see it with different light. I see it from the morning from Griffith Park, so it's extremely special. But I will want to tell you, one of the brightest moments of my life was November 16th, 1969. Big Bad Eagle Rock came over to play John Marshall High School. Eagle Rock was bigger and stronger than Marshall. And it had rained all the week, and the field was muddy. But we had a great game against the Eagles of Eagle Rock, and I'm proud to say it was 4th and 1, and Eagle Rock was punching in to try to make a score, and we stopped them on the 17-yard line, and we won. So anytime I see Eagle Rock, I say I love you, but I love you more for the 60th day of November, 1969. Go Eagles!
Thank you very much.
Didn't I tell you that he knows his history, right? Seems like he lives in Eagle Rock. Well, we got one more final thing to do with the permission. Oh, we got other speakers?
No, I
Okay.
just also wanted to add my good wishes. Thank you, Mr. Rezar, for doing this. My first job out of school was working in Eagle Rock at Occidental College for a number of years. I loved eating, spending time there, recreating there, but I also built on my grandfather on my mother's side, lived and grew up in Eagle Rock, and went to high school, learned to play the piano there, was a great, proud resident of Eagle Rock for, I think, about 20 years of his life, and Eagle Rock has touched the lives of so many of us. It is a fabulous place, and if you can imagine, there's still some people, even one or two around here, once said, where exactly is the Rock in Eagle Rock? So I hope they learn the history of Eagle Rock, they learn the history of the next generation of Eagle Rock, and thank you, Mr. Rezar, for being such a great representative of the neighborhood as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And with your indulgence, we have one final thing to do, and that is to, on anybody's birthday, we sing happy birthday. So we don't have 100 candles, but we have a beautiful cake, and we have candles that say 100. And on 3, we will sing happy birthday to the beautiful community of Eagle Rock. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Okay, now we can go to the Tom Bradley room. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rezar. And we next have a presentation from CD6 and then CD11. Is Mr. Cardenas ready?
Thank you. Have a good one.
Mr. Cardenas, and thank you very much to all the folks from Eagle Rock. We very much appreciate you being here. With that, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the council, and members of the public. Today, we're kicking off Juvenile Justice Week of Faith and Healing in the city of Los Angeles. The Healing Justice Coalition is an interfaith coalition that includes leaders from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and Protestant, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, and Sikh traditions who are working together to raise awareness of the juvenile justice system. Today kicks off Juvenile Justice Week of Faith and Healing, a series of activities that is taking place throughout Los Angeles until March 13th to educate the public on proven, cost-effective approaches to reducing youth violence. The first Friday in March shall now be declared Juvenile Justice Day of Faith and Healing in the City of Los Angeles to raise awareness on the impact of the plight of victims of crime and juvenile offenders. When we pass this by the City Council, this resolution will make the City of Los Angeles the first city in the country to formally dedicate a day to raising awareness of juvenile justice issues in our city. California leads the world in incarceration rates, with more than 175,000 people serving in prison on any given day in the state of California, and the vast majority of those people serving time have not committed a violent crime. More than 230,000 juveniles are arrested each year in California, and another 15,000 young people are detained in juvenile correction facilities across this state. Taxpayers spend an estimated $252,000 a year to incarcerate just one juvenile for 365 days. I'll say that again, ladies and gentlemen. Your state tax dollars are being spent at a rate of $252,000 a year just to incarcerate one juvenile. Whether it's a violent crime or not, it costs $252,000 a year. And also in a state facility, it costs over $46,000 to incarcerate one adult. The U.S. is the only country in the world that sentences young people to life without the possibility of parole. I'll say that again. We're the only country in the world that sentences juveniles to life without parole. And in addition to that, it is not just limited to violent crimes. There have been young people who have been sentenced to life without parole, and they did not touch another human being to get that sentence. They did not shoot another human being. They did not hit another human being. They did not stab another human being, yet they have been sentenced to life without parole. The reason why I say that to you, ladies and gentlemen, because I think it's very sobering when Americans find out that our juvenile justice system is that difficult on our children. When our juvenile justice system, you would assume you would have that sentence for the most egregious crime. And that is not the case, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to share a short 2-minute video that sheds more light on the critical issues of juvenile justice. Can we roll the video, please?
as young as 14 years old were sentenced to life in prison. It was like a physical shock to me that our society has deemed impossible to change, that our society has literally thrown away for life. And we're declaring to a child at 14, at 15, at 16, oh, you're done. You don't matter. You can't change. You are not worthy of being a human being in society. It's one of the greatest tragedies that our society is inflicting on other human beings.
I firmly, deeply believe as a person of faith that my children are absolutely no different than those children who are sitting in those jury halls in different places. What if it is my child? How would I react? Did I do enough? Can I do more? Can I ask someone else to do more?
Thank you very much. Those are some words for some caring individuals in this country who understand how egregious this system is and it needs to change. It's a sad state of affairs for us to have to declare such a day and for us to actually have to declare such a week. But such is the case, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us as Americans and as Californians and as Angelenos to open our eyes and to understand what is going on around us. And it is an injustice, and it's actually important for us to understand that not only is it morally important for us to understand these realities, but it's also important for us to understand that the needs of our youth and families, it makes economic sense to stop spending $252,000 a year to incarcerate a youth for a non-violent crime when we actually have programs in this city, and I'm very proud of this city, that some of our programs go for as little as $1,300 a year to get a child back on track, back in school, and back on the right path. We're wearing white strips of cloth today that have been passed out to all of you, and I hope that you will wear them in honor of all of our youth and families who are impacted by crime and the juvenile justice system. I want to thank the following individuals and invite them up to say a few words, who can make a few comments on their perspective on this issue and how important it is to every single one of us. First, we have Father Michael Kennedy, who's a Jesuit restorative justice. He's with the Jesuit Restorative Justice Initiative.
So, good morning. I work at Silmar Berger Nordhoff Juvenile Hall, and I can't help but notice that behind me we have a lot of youth the same type, same age that I work. The problem is there's 200 kids, as these kids here are standing, they're facing 100 years to life. The reason I'm here today is the best kept secret, number uno of all of the state of California, is what we're doing with our youth of color. We're taking the key and we're throwing out the window forever, and they're going to die in Corcoran, Pelican Bay. I worked at Dolores Mission. I've seen kids killed. I've worked with victims. I know what it is when parents lose their kids. But to say that these are monsters and don't have another chance is wrong, morally wrong, ethically incorrect. So I stand here today and I bring something from the kids I work with. These kids here can be here. We're proud of them. I know the parents of these kids, Eric and Johnny and Abraham. Their names are right here. They're going to die in prison. How many of us here have kids or grandkids that are 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17? And one day you hear a judge say 100 years to life. 255 years and 8 months, Eric Benitez, who made this card. His crime partner, 200 years. This is wrong. And one day we're going to wake up and realize that kids deserve another chance. How many of us adults have made a mistake? So we stand here. I'd like to give these. I'll pass these out. These are names of kids. I added them up. I liked all these numbers we're doing today. So I added up, and if we have all the kids here, it's 1,000, 2,000, 2,050 years these kids will serve. So I'd like to give you one of these. These are made by the kids to remember them when you go home, that one day we'll give our kids of color a second chance. Thank you very much.
I think it's important for me to point out, ladies and gentlemen, not one person so far has ever said that if a child commits a crime that they should not be punished. Nobody has said that. Nobody is saying that. But what we are saying is that we have a juvenile justice system that has gone in a direction that is immoral, and it's wrong, and in my opinion, un-American. For any person in this country to be sentenced to life without parole, and they did not physically harm another individual, is just simply unconscionable. And those sentences are being done on a daily basis in the state of California and many states throughout the Union. Also, I'd like to invite to say a few words is Reverend Mary Moreno Richardson from the St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. I first want to thank Javier because Javier gave me the opportunity to come into Juvenile Hall and work with the youth. As a clergy person, I thought I was going to bring something of value to these children, help them change their minds. But what I received was an education about the juvenile justice system in this state and in our country, and the haves and the have-nots, and the injustice that I saw over and over again of our children, 8-year-olds who are incarcerated, who've fallen through the cracks of the foster care system, who are definitely children of color. And so what I saw over and over again, and that I became educated on this issue, was the need to advocate. We are called, as people of God, to be sacred activists, to really stand up for these children. They depend on us. I now serve in San Diego at a detention center for undocumented youth and victims of human trafficking. We have children as young as 5 years old. I really want to thank the City Council of LA for stepping up and taking this strong stand to stand up for those children who do not have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to ask Reverend Michael Eagle, Senior Pastor at St. Mark AME Church, to please say a few words.
Good morning, Council President and the rest of this esteemed body of council persons. I want to thank you for your time, your interest, as well as your care in working with this issue that we have against called juvenile injustices. A young child, 5 years old, in my church, under my care, came up to me one day and said, "Pastor, I'm sad." 5 years old. And I said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" He said, "My daddy's in jail." And that put an impression on me, because I realized the connection, and there is a connection, between those who are in prison and the offspring of those who are in prison. There's a connection. There's a connection with those who are in prison who give war stories of their life history, what they've done, because that's all they have to talk about. Heard Councilman LaBonge speak about his football days. We all speak about our days. And if all you have to offer is your imprisonment, that's what somebody else glamorizes and idolizes and glorifies. And we have to stop it somewhere. And we also have to stop it with this injustice against these young children who are getting locked up for whatever reason. Is morally wrong, is economically wrong, it is socially wrong not to give them another chance and let them recover from their mistakes. So I rise to thank you for working with this celebration. Thank you, Councilman Cardenas, for your care and your work working with Senator Diane Watson and others for the community proclamations and resolutions and legislation that you are pushing that is for the community and not just of the community. And I ask for your participation also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Reverend. Next, we'd like to ask Shakil Saeed from the Islamic Shura Council of Southern California to say a few words.
I am grateful to this esteemed council and to Council Member Cardenas in particular for giving voice to our voiceless children. I believe the most enduring value of a humane society is how vigilant we are toward the impoverished and the destitute. As a person of faith, and a weak one at that, I am well aware of my own shortcomings, not providing safe spaces to our children in denying them the opportunities they richly deserve. But I am also aware that our justice system has failed just as bad by incarcerating our kids for life, and I repeat, for life, and robbing them of the mere possibility of making whole of themselves. And this, I believe, my friends, is our collective and colossal failure. Knowing what we know today about this punitive system of justice, I ask myself, shouldn't we think afresh about the lives, gentlemen and ladies, lives of our own children? I stand here as a faithful follower for your leadership and our collective pursuit in making whole the lives of our children. And I stand here today in their name, the near forgotten in the California juvenile justice system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Javier Starring from the Office of Restorative Justice of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles.
Good morning. Thank you for this honor. Thank you, Councilman Cardenas, for all you do for our incarcerated kids. I'd like to share just briefly what our coalition does, and our big annual event is Juvenile Justice Week of Faith and Healing, which kicks off next Monday. So starting on Monday, over 300 congregations in the state of California, over 20 high schools and universities will all unite to raise awareness around the issues that we are sharing with you here today. The kickoff event is Monday at Central Juvenile Hall, where some of the most distinguished religious leaders in LA, including Reverend Chip Murray, Rabbi Leonard Bierman, Dr. Siddiqui, and Bishop Salazar, will come together and unite with incarcerated youth and raise this as a moral issue for all of us, that these youth belong to all of us and we are responsible for them. Those are just a few practical examples of what this coalition is involved with. But in closing, I'd like to share a thought that may not be as practical, but that I hope has the potential to result in a greater good. And I'd like to start out by saying that the passion that I feel for my faith does not come from reading sacred scriptures, because intellectual understanding alone does not suffice. It comes from growing and sustaining a personal relationship with God. In a very similar way, what fuels my passion and that of my brothers and my sister here to care for our most marginalized youth does not come from reading reports or listening to reports and reading statistics. It comes from walking into the juvenile halls and entering into relationship with our youth, sitting down and listening to their stories, getting to know who they are and why they might act the way they do. These visits to juvenile hall can be transformative. And I'm not referring to an official tour of the facility, which is something completely different. I'm talking about sitting down with the youth and listening to them with open hearts, as if each one of them belonged to you. And it is in this spirit that I invite each and every one of you to come with us to juvenile hall, to meet some of the young people who society has deemed disposable. Accepting this invitation can result to be challenging and disturbing, which is not a bad thing. It can also result in a shift of consciousness that repatterns both your inner and outer worlds in a very beautiful way. And so, while I am so thankful for this honor, my real hope is that you will accept our humble invitation and come with us into Juvenile Hall and meet some of these young people that we're here speaking for.
Thank you, Javier. Thank you. Mr. Cardenas, a couple other members, so just let me know when you want to.
We have a couple of youth and also a couple of adults who brought them with them. Joni Alcantara and Dominique Bell are two young people who have turned their lives around after being incarcerated in the juvenile justice system.
Sorry.
Don't be nervous, man.
Hello. My name is Jonathan Kai Alcantara. I, like many of the people we advocate for, was a potential juvenile lifer. A boy the system deemed cruel and heartless. A monster that should have never seen the outside world again. 4 months ago, I was locked away, sitting in a cell, strip searched 7 times a day, chained like a dog. Every time I went anywhere. I am no different than any of your children. I am not a monster. I am a young man trying. I was given a second chance. I am asking you not to throw away the key to our kids of color that are deemed to die in prison. Through the grace of God and my reawakened spirituality, I stand here before you today, no longer a statistic from a gang-impoverished neighborhood, but a college student awaiting a promising future. Thank you to all those who give faith and hope to those without it. Thank you. I'd also like to add that this list Father Michael Kennedy gave you, I'm the only minor on this list, the only person on this list that has seen the outside world and that will see it for the next 50 years. Thank you.
President, Council, Garcetti, distinguished members, I speak for the young men and women over here to my right, and also for my brothers and sisters that are still incarcerated. I'd like to recall a conversation that I had with my teacher while I was inside. You just need to get a college education, and then the doors will open for you. I can remember Miss Scott's voice clearly as she demanded that I get serious about education. I know education is important, Miss Scott, but right now my heart is in agony. This was my response to my teacher. For you see, in Miss Scott's mind, a poor education was the culprit for all incarcerations, and because of that, only a good education could remedy the problem of crime and recidivism. I entered the juvenile system at the age of 16 and departed after serving 16 years as well, 15 more days than I had lived on the street. During that time, it was only faith that sustained me. The struggle to maintain sanity and hope was never an intellectual endeavor. It was a spiritual one. Ms. Scott was correct in seeing a correlation between poor education and incarceration, but what eluded her observation is the same thing that our society has censored for the last generation, namely the importance of spirituality in the healing process. Ms. Scott wanted to rehabilitate my mind, but education was never the problem. What I needed and what everyone here needs is something far more holistic and penetrating. I needed a change of heart. For an educated criminal, nonetheless, will always still be a criminal. But a criminal who encounters the divine is a spirit reborn. Today, I stand before you as an attended student at Loyola Marymount University, standing as an example of the grace of God and the power of transformation. And as we gather together in solidarity for Juvenile Justice Day, let us remember God and His children. For His children are our children. These children are our children. They are our responsibility, and they are our hope. The name Los Angeles is the title of our city. It was once El Pueblo de la Reina de Los Angeles, which means the town of the Queen of the Angels. My request is that we return to our spiritual heritage and reclaim our lost children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your generosity of time, Mr. President, but I think it's important for me to share with you, I had a moment to take a picture with Justice Moreno, as we just honored, and rightfully so. And when I told him I wanted to take a picture with him, he noticed this band that I'm wearing, and I told him what it was about. It's about juvenile justice, and he immediately said, how appropriate. And he encouraged me to take a picture with him with this band. And we started to talk about briefly some very egregious injustices that are occurring across this country, and he shook his head and he agreed with me with every point that I made. So one thing that I'd like to point out, I'd like to thank also Councilmember Zine for co-authoring the resolution that I put forth about this day and this week. But I also want to make it very, very clear, you'll never hear Dennis Zine say that if you do something wrong, that you should not be punished. And that is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is whether or not we as a society
are doing something that is egregious, and we're turning our back on our responsibility. That's what today is about. It's about awareness and realizing that perhaps some of these young people may have done something wrong, and they do deserve to have some form of punishment or some opportunity for rehabilitation. But what I challenge us as adults, us as voters, us as elected officials, is to ask ourselves, are we going to turn our backs on the facts and the truth, and are we going to stand for injustice any longer? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl?
Thank you, Mr. President. When I came in this morning, I was in the elevator and I saw all the white, and I said, what is it? And they told me. 10 years ago, Lee Baca asked me, go look at the prisons, and I toured the prisons. And that gave me an impression that I will never forget. There is an outrageous reality going on in our great nation. You know, we have 2.3 million people in prison. That's 25% of the incarceration on the planet. We are only 5% of the world. We have more people in prison than China does. And a lot of it are young people. Why? Because we have these dumb drug laws that make it a heinous act. Heinous! And their lives are destroyed. What about the alcohol craziness out there? What about those prescription drugs and those crazinesses out there? No, they're accepted. But if a young kid is involved, and I'm not saying marijuana is good or bad, I'm not going to go that far, but I'm going to say to put them in jail and destroy their lives and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally millions of dollars to keep these people in prison is insane. We should be spending this money on education, health care, and infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
You know, if I was a judge, I would get up there and make a real issue of this. And if I was a lawyer, I would do the same thing. It's time we changed our laws. We took these kids out of prison, take that kind of money and spend it on education for them and opportunities for them. Thank you, Tony Cardenas, for bringing this to us today. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilor Cardenas for bringing this in and putting a big spotlight on this injustice. And Councilor Cardenas was right. When we were taking a picture with Justice Moreno, I suggested to him, wow, Tony, you look pretty militant with that armband on. He goes, yeah, I am. And that's when Judge Moreno said, how appropriate. But when we refer to the young people here, and I address you that in the audience, how many do you think about voting? How many of you know relatives, friends, neighbors who don't vote? Those of us, people of color, who see who's in these prisons. You have a direct relationship with this injustice by your lack of participation in our civic process. If you look at the numbers of people that live in this city, in this state, who are people of color, and you look at who is in our prisons, you need to ask, why is this happening? And you have to look in the mirror. It's because we let it happen. We let it happen. Our voting rate is very, very low. People are dying in other countries to vote. And we don't take that opportunity. We don't take that right. Those of us who are people of color. So one of the reasons that this exists is because we need to be more active and we need to be accountable for our own actions. If that 9-year-old is in prison, it's because we did not bother to vote. The apathy in our community should not be where it's at today.
Thank you, Mr.
So, Councilman Cardenas, the clergy here, we need to address that indifference, the apathy in our own communities. The laws exist because we voted the people that make those laws. The state legislators, the federal legislators are there because we do not vote. So when you go visit that youngster in that prison, in that jail, think about it. The day voting becomes real, did you take it upon yourself to vote? And I address you young people because you will be there in the next year or two. You have the ability to speak to your parents, to your grandparents, your relatives, and address this issue and ask the question, are they supporting those who are putting our kids in prison? Ask that question, get the answer, then you know how to vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, council members, and I hope you'll take me up on the opportunity to wear the band. Thank you so much, Ed Reyes, for wearing it. It's not so much a militant matter, it's an opportunity for people to ask, why are you wearing that? And that's an opportunity to educate people, as we've just done over the last 15 minutes. So with that, I'd like to give this resolution on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, signed by all of the elected officials, to the Juvenile Justice Week of Faith and Healing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Our next presentation is Mr. Rosendahl.
We're going to go in the back and take some pictures, okay? Go this way. Everybody. You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, how are you doing, Tom?
We're going to go in the back together and take some pictures. Come on
I was doing a little hugging and shaking of some of the folks there. It is outrageous. I'm just so upset, especially with that third strike that throws kids away for everything. Why am I standing here now? Because social workers are involved in this in a very positive way. Many of you know I'm a social worker. I got an MSW in social work. I spent my first year as a psychoanalyst in a mental hygiene clinic during the Vietnam era. I saw 8 or 9 Vietnam vets a day. March is Social Work Month, and it is important to raise awareness about this profession. What is a social worker? Social workers champion access, equality, and fairness. Social workers improve the fabric of society by being advocates for people who need help addressing serious life challenges and exploring their options. The social work profession was established more than 100 years ago to provide as many people as possible with tools and support they need to overcome adversity, like poverty, illness, addiction, abuse, discrimination, to mention a few, and reach their full potential. The social work profession also works to change systems and customs that otherwise limit the ability of some to lead fulfilling lives. Social workers believe they have a responsibility to affect positive change for the future. And on behalf of the city, I'd like to give this certificate of recognition to the National Association of Social Workers. On behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, it is an honor to pause and pay tribute to the men and women who serve our nation through this industry of social workers. The historic bonds which link social workers in our society serve as a keystone in the arc of stability of our communities and as a cornerstone in our foundation of continuous growth. I present it to you, and come on up, Joni, and say a few words.
Thank you so much. And as you know, Councilmember Bill Rosendahl has his master's in social work and really helps make a difference. And on behalf of the National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, we would like to present Bill Rosendahl with a certificate of appreciation for his outstanding contributions to making a difference in our communities.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we invite all council members, team members to join us in the back. We have cake and tea to celebrate Social Work Month, as the theme is Social Workers Change Futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. And one little anecdotal final comment I want to make is when I worked for George McGovern for 18 months, social workers knew I was close to the senator, and they asked what can they do to help. And I said, every time we stop somewhere, have social workers for McGovern signs. So everywhere we went in the country, the social workers were out there with their signs. Just a little anecdotal story. God bless social workers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And I know we've got some very patient Fairfax High School students who are part of our next presentation. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Paul Koretz from the 5th Council District.
Well, thank you, colleagues. We're here this morning to welcome Fairfax High School. Their mascot is the lion, and this year they really roared, winning not just one huge championship, but 3. We're gathered to celebrate their recent accomplishments, and we welcome the new city champion marching band, color guard and drill team, and football team. Let's have a big round of applause for a great school. I'm very proud to have Fairfax High School in my district, and I'd also like to acknowledge my colleague on the council, Tom LaBonge, who represents many of the families of Fairfax High School, does a great job in his district, and we're here together to celebrate these great successes. We're joined by the principal, Ed Zubiati, who has spearheaded many positive changes at this school. I'd also like to introduce a few other terrific members of the Fairfax High School faculty. Assistant Principal David Seidelman, Director of Development Joyce Clyfield, Assistant Principal Teresa McKinney, and let's give them a big hand too. While we're here today to acknowledge the recent championships, I'd also like to point out that Fairfax High School is one of the top schools in LAUSD academically, and there have been many positive changes in recent years, and even more are coming, including a brand new stadium and football field that are going to happen in the next couple of years. I'd like to introduce... First, I'd like to introduce the principal to say a few words.
Of course, I'd like to thank you for inviting us here, especially Councilman Koretz and Councilman LaBonge, and for this great moment. And this is a great moment for our kids to be here. But I think as a principal of one of your public schools, and they are your public schools, that I need to remind you of the crisis that we're in, and that this district, we have an outstanding young music teacher here and band leader, and the district is looking at laying off 185 of them this year. I think it's important that we need you to advocate at higher levels for us, so that it's kind of ironic that we had this great group that was up before us talking about kids in trouble, and it is programs like our athletic programs, our band, our music, etc., which are part of the war against having those kids fail. So thank you for your moment. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the specific victories. First, we should celebrate the marching band and color guard. They're in their 5th year after an 18-year hiatus. But don't let the recent timeline of existence fool you. And this is a great story. When most of these kids got to Fairfax High School and this program started, most of them had never played an instrument. And yet, they started winning competitions right away. And in their first year, they actually won the championship. An astonishing story. The band has won a few championships in its short existence, and in a recent competition, they won 9 out of 10 categories. And they're almost starting to run out of room for their trophies. Let's congratulate the marching band as the 2011 LAUSD Band Division I champions. Under Ray Vizcarra's leadership, who has put all of this together, they earned first place at the competition at East LA College. And let's celebrate the college, the color guard and drill team as well, who won their first championship, edging out defending Division I champion Locke High School, and they are now the 2011 LAUSD Color Guard and Flags Division I champions. if we could ask Ray to say a few words.
Good morning. Is it still morning? Everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having us here. And this year was a major year for us. After winning the championship in 2007, the 2 years following that, we were less than a point away for winning the championship. And this year I told the kids, I'm not sure if you're going to see me a little different this year, but not only do I want you to win this year, I want you to win by at least 10 points. And they actually almost accomplished that. They won by 9.6, and that's a big spread in a band competition where usually it's decided by less than a point. So they had such a big victory that after having a 3-hour or 4-hour sleep because of going to the championship football game where our football team won, thankfully as well, they managed to pull it off, and we had an encore performance, and they performed for a much larger audience, and they are still talking about that show today. Whenever these kids go out in the honor band, there's like, oh, Fairfax is coming, and they are like rock stars. And at this point, I would like to thank my principal. Our administrators are very supportive, and also a special thank you to our football coach, who most of my band colleagues are jealous of me for having such a wonderful coach, because he's actually shared the field with me. When they're practicing, we get to practice on the field sometimes, and that's unheard of in any other school. So, thanks, Coach.
If we could present this back to both of you.
Get up right in there. Get in there. Take one on the step, yeah.
And also, we'd like to acknowledge the football team. Under the coaching of Shane Cox, the Fairfax Lions football team was able to have a terrific year. They are now the 2011 LAUSD Football Division II champions. The Lions football team won the City Section's Division II championship with a 51-7 victory over Chatsworth High School on December 10th at East Los Angeles College. They finished the season with a 12-3-1 overall record. Throughout the playoffs, they had to play on the road and won the title from the number 9 seed. And during the playoffs, they even defeated my old high school, Hamilton High School. Although when I went there, Warren Moon was the quarterback, so they might have been more competitive. And they had a tough schedule, but they pulled it off, and they're now the champions. And we'd like to have their head coach, Shane Cox, say a few words as well.
Just want to thank you all for having us. I want to thank Mr. Zubiotti for being, without a doubt, in my opinion, the best principal in Los Angeles Unified. Certainly the best principal that I've worked for. Want to thank Mr. Labange for always coming to our games and supporting us. Want to thank Zev Yaroslavsky as well, who's always at our games and extremely supportive. I want to thank Mr. Koretz for having us down here. And I really want to thank my seniors for the wonderful job they did. They're an awesome group, a special group, and they've made me and Fairfax High School look very, very good, and they really deserve all the credit. And I want to thank these young men who are all graduating, who are all positive, who are all going to go to college or a trade or technical school, and they're just really special young men, and I want to thank all of them. Thank you very much.
Where are we looking?
Thank you, sir.
Well, congratulations again. We hope to see you here again next year for your accomplishments that we know you will undertake in the coming year. Mr. Labange, would you like to...
Thank you very much. Mr. Koretz, I want to thank you and your leadership as a council member, pushing to improve the athletic fields for not just the school but the community, and working to overcome some of the challenges in the built environment and get a new athletic field for Fairfax, for the marching band so they get multi-use, and for ASYO youth soccer. Give Councilman Paul Koretz a big hand. Our coach is a great teacher. This is a great teacher, and he has great assistants. Give the coach a big hand right now. And great support from all the administration, and you said it right about the best principal in Los Angeles. They were always there looking out for you, students. They were always there looking out for you, which is so important. But I want to give a shout out to the center, Anthony, number 74. Where's Anthony right now? All right, come up here, Anthony. Come up here, Anthony. Get up here. Jog up here, Anthony. Jog up. Come on, Anthony. Come on, hustle now, hustle. All right, good. And I also want Richard Evans. Is that right there, number 27? What a great play right here. Members, Hamilton was leading, and they were driving, and they were going to score, and all of a sudden they put a long pass on the southwest corner of the field, and up went Richard, batted the ball down, and Fairfax took control and dominated the game, and then they went to take on Chatsworth at East Los Angeles Stadium. You did a great job, and your dad works where?
He works for the city of L.A.
Yeah, his daddy works for the city of L.A., which makes him another champion. Where's number 5? Where's number 5? What's his name? Hey, Matt, get out here, Matt, right, number 5. This guy went both ways, offense and defense. All right, get a shot. Hustle up here now. This man did a great job. He's going to do a great job in college. Congratulations, Lions. You did a great job. Congratulations, Fairfax High School, city champion. Good job.
Thank you. Congratulations to all the Fairfax students that are here today in the Fairfax community, and thank you so much, Mr. Koretz, for the presentation. With that, we'll call the roll for the special meeting, please.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Han, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weston, Zion, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, we have one item on this agenda, and it has been noticed for public hearing. We do have two cards on it, excuse me. Actually, one of the cards doesn't have a name on it, so we'll come back to that in a second. But as we clear out the chambers, we have somebody who just put One Generation down. Is there somebody here from One Generation that wanted to speak on item 23? I've got your card, Mr. Sachs, as well. Mr. Sachs, if you want to come up, we'll take that down. You can come up this way. We'll get Mr. Sachs, and then we have Lucy Nalbandian as well from the Adult Day Healthcare Program patients. Come on forward, Mr. Sachs, and then if there's anybody from One Generation here, they can come forward, and then Lucy Nalbandian. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. Arnold Sachs. Absolutely. It's very difficult in these times to be looking at cuts for not only elderly programs, but health care programs of any sort. But conversely, a good portion of the city council has been in government for 10, 15 years, maybe not all of it as elected officials, but in a position where you've assisted somebody who's had an office, or you've been in office in a different capacity in a different state level, lower county level, city level, maybe a different public entity. Offer some alternatives. With this vast amount of experience as a reservoir of ideas, offer some alternatives. It's easy to step up on that side. It's easy to step up here to criticize. I don't have an alternative to it, although, I do. Maybe cut expenses. Maybe eliminate some of the perks of office. Maybe eliminate the per diem for the state senators, the state legislators, to offset the cost for here. But I don't get any sense of alternatives coming from the horseshoe. Don't do it. That's easy. Offer up alternatives. Dip into your vast well of resources for your experience as elected officials, where you have that opportunity, and offer up alternatives. Thank you, sir.
Larry Lisenby is our next speaker from One Generation, then Lucy Nalbandian will be after that. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your patience this morning.
As the director of the One Generation Senior Enrichment Center in Reseda and as a representative of the Los Angeles Aging Coalition, I support Councilman Huizar's resolution. As you know, ADHD is a Medi-Cal benefit that seeks to delay the institutionalization or avoid for seniors and others with disabilities. About 37,000 Californians currently are served by this program. To be eligible, you have to be determined to have medical ongoing need for services. Without adult day health care, people who are receiving these services will be forced into hospitals and nursing facilities. As you can imagine, these costs will be horrifically far more than the $6.36 an hour it costs to keep them in the required 6-hour program. With the onset of baby boomers, these costs are going to become even more expensive. In fact, they're going to increase exponentially. So what's been presented as a solution is actually a budget liability. More important than this budget liability, though, is the moral issue. The generation served by this program is known as the greatest generation for a good reason. It fought our wars, it built our infrastructure, it raised our families, and paid us taxes. It's a self-sufficient generation. It demanded very little in return and seldom used state programs that their taxes supported. Now, in the twilight of their years, these seniors are asking but little, and that is for the care that will keep them in their homes and out of institutions. To do less than this is wrong in principle and morally reprehensible.
Thank you. Lucy Nalbandian. Good morning.
Hello, I'm Lucy Nalbandian. I am the Director of Daycare Services at St. Barnabas Senior Center of Los Angeles, and I'm very proud to work with St. Barnabas. St. Barnabas is the oldest senior center in Los Angeles. St. Barnabas has been around 102 years. In 1989, we started a program, daycare program, Alzheimer's Daycare Resource Center. 2003, we added adult day health care program. Last year, we lost the funding for Alzheimer's Daycare Resource Center, but we were able to continue providing services through our adult day health care program. And the beneficiaries are people who won't be able to voice their concern over the budget proposal this year and prior 2 years. We were able to advocate for these seniors who are coming to us every day and who have sometimes multiple disabilities. These are folks who have been working hard to be able to retire with grace and dignity. And I would strongly, strongly encourage the Council to support the resolution because it opposes the Governor's proposal to eliminate adult day health care centers. So please voice your opinion, and we very much hope that the voice of seniors with disabilities will be heard on different levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nalbandian. Mr. Huizar is our first speaker on council. I'll close our public hearing on this.
Microphone on? Yes. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to thank the speakers who came out to speak today. They were so eloquent in stating the case why the City of Los Angeles should be opposed to the Governor's proposal to eliminate this support for our seniors. I know as the state continues to find ways to close its budget deficit, there will probably be more ways that will affect our city, but this is one of those that certainly stands out. As was mentioned, we owe a lot of gratitude to our seniors. They built the great infrastructure that we have in the state of California. They fought many great wars for us, and in their tender age, when they're our seniors, we should do everything we can to support them. These programs actually are a preventive way for society to have a less of a cost in terms of other costs that would cost us should we have to care for them in other ways. And they go a long way in providing that preventive care that they need and giving them all the support they need in a comprehensive fashion. This proposed $500 million reduction in the state to our low-income seniors, disabled people, and other Medicare recipients, and the elimination of the adult day health care programs must be rethought, must be fought back, and certainly once the impact is fully well known, we would find that we need to cut our state budget in other ways. At the end of the day, if we do not fight this back, there will be increased costs to the city of Los Angeles in having to find other ways to provide for our seniors here more locally. So, colleagues, I ask for your aye vote on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes. You know, when I read the resolution, Mr. Huizar, I can't believe it. The governor's proposed to save $500 million by reducing and/or eliminating programs for low-income seniors, disabled people, and other Medi-Cal recipients. I mean, this is insane, including the elimination of adult daycare facilities. Listen, folks, if we don't take care of the seniors and we don't take care of the kids, what kind of a nation are we? So thank you for bringing this to the attention. For God's sake, let's go after the rich and make them pay more of their fair share of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, first of all, just wanted to thank Councilmember Huizar for bringing this forward. This is really an issue of significant concern to the city of Los Angeles. In my last year in the legislature, the last budget that I was a part of, Governor Schwarzenegger had proposed to zero out this program entirely, and I helped lead the effort to stop it then, in part because I've visited ADHCs. And if you've been into one, if you've gone to visit the seniors who are there, and you see that some of them are struggling to get by, struggling to get through another day, and would certainly be institutionalized but for their ability to be an ADHD. You can't morally accept the idea of asking them all to leave and putting them out on the streets. You just can't morally accept that we could make this cut. But even if you were heartless enough to be able to do that, and you just wanted to look at it as a matter of dollars and cents, it absolutely makes no sense to cut ADHD funding. One of two things is going to happen when these seniors are asked to leave the ADHD program. Either, if they happen to be lucky enough to be in a family who has the wherewithal to take care of them, a family member is going to have to take care of them all day, probably leave a career, leave a job that produces tax revenues for this city, that creates economic vitality in order to take care of them. If they don't happen to be fortunate enough to be in a family that has the wherewithal to do that, they are almost certainly going to be, many of them, institutionalized in full-time care, which is going to cost significantly more in Medi-Cal dollars to the state and federal government. So either way, this would be absolutely penny-wise and pound-foolish to cut this program. More importantly, as Mr. Rosendahl suggested and others, Mr. Huizar and others have suggested, it says something horrible about the kind of society that we purport to be if this is where we find to save a few dollars from our budget. So I rise in strong support of Mr. Huizar's motion.
Thank you. With that, let's go ahead and prepare a roll on Mr. Huizar's motion before us. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is unanimously passed. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor for his signing, and we will adopt that as official position of the City of L.A. Thank you all for that we're here on this and for your patience in waiting that item. If we can adjourn the special meeting and go back to the regular meeting, we'll take our public comment for items and our general public comment now. Starting in Van Nuys, we'll go to Daniel Gus. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Gus. We'll come back, and Jack Allen will be our next speaker here in for our chambers. Good morning, Mr. Gus.
Good morning. We have an election this coming Tuesday, and I have some recommendations based on being an advocate for the animals in our shelters. If I lived in CD10, there's no doubt I would vote for Herb Wesson. Herb Wesson saves an animal's life every week and has probably saved hundreds of others by encouraging people on Channel 35. So Herb Wesson gets my vote. If I lived there, I would vote for him, and I hope his constituents keep him back for another 4 years. In CD4, I was contacted both by Thomas O'Grady's campaign and Stephen Box's campaign to say, if I was elected to City Council, what can I do to help you deal with our animal shelters in the city? And unfortunately, Tom LaBonge is a nice guy. He's fun to watch on TV. But right now, our shelters need more than fun in the city. So I would support Stephen Box or Thomas O'Grady. Good luck, guys. Similarly, Rudy Martinez's campaign contacted me and said, what can I do if elected? How can I help you? We're not sure about what to do, but please help us. And in all of the years I've come to City Council, I don't think I ever heard Jose Huizar say one thing that was helpful to the animals. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Wonderful that he went to Princeton. What have you done for the animals in our shelters? In CD6, Tony Cardenas, nice guy, but it's time for a change. If you could just look at the condition of Van Nuys Boulevard when you come into City Hall here, Van Nuys Boulevard is a mess. We need change. Paul Krikorian, I hope you get a full 4 years. I like what I see from you. When I was at City Council about 2 weeks ago, Paul Krikorian came to the side and asked, what can I do to help you? That type of simple proactivity is what we need in City Hall, in City Council, and in the city of L.A. So please, people, Wesson, Box, O'Grady, Martinez, Barone, Cordero, or Krikorian. Thank you.
Our next speaker is here in Council Chambers, Jack Allen.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Councilman. I'm Jack Allen, Pacific Palisades. I've specialized for the last 20 years in wireless telecommunications law. And I'm here to complain that there's no progress being made to control the proliferation of ugly cell towers in the city rights-of-way. 5 council files have been opened in the past 4 years in efforts by the council to address the problems. But due to inaction by the staff and the city attorney, 3 of these files have expired, and a 4th file is just about to expire. It isn't, the council does not have to adopt any new ordinances to tackle the problem. Assertions that the above-ground facilities ordinance and the joint powers agreements prevent enforcement are red herrings. All that is necessary is that the existing ordinance for wireless communications facilities, which requires a CUP for every wireless telecommunications facility put in anywhere in the city, whether it's in a right-of-way or on a DWP pole or a joint pole, is covered by this ordinance, but it's not being enforced. Now, the reason for that not being enforced is because city planning and the Department of Public Works have the mythical understanding that somehow that Public Works has the only jurisdiction over the public rights-of-way. They say it's in the charter, but they have not once been able to show me that there's a place in the charter that gives them the control over the public rights-of-way. And therefore, this ordinance, which covers all the wireless telecommunications, applies, and I would think that the council should make sure that it takes charge and this ordinance gets enforced, rather than just sitting by and we just let it go by. Thank you.
Appreciate your words and your activism on this issue. Jose Aguilar is our next speaker. Okay, he's not here anymore. Candido Maris in Van Nuys is our next speaker then. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I'd like to speak to the residents and the ratepayers of this great city. Tuesday is election day. We hope that you'll vote on Measure I and J, which has to deal with the accountability and transparency over at the Department of Water and Power. We have a new general manager, and he's trying to do his best job, but he needs I and J to help him make sure that we bring transparency and accountability to the Department of Water and Power. The roots of corruption are surrounding us. We have it in Bell, we have it in Vernon, we have it in Upland, and I think it's time that we finally put a stop to corruption in this city. These are the money bags at DWP. They spend over $1.7 billion of your taxpayer monies to give out contracts, etc. It's wasteful. It brings about waste, fraud, and abuse. It has to stop. John, hold that bag up a little higher. You're not. That's one of the bags that's been dipped into.
You might need to hire a new P there.
That's right. That's a P, Mr. That's right. John, you got to get your P right. Mr. President, Councilman, this is a serious issue. We need to take back our city. Mr. Parks, I want to thank you. I know he's not there today. I know that he has tried hard. We know that they're spending over $1 million to defeat him. We hope that he's there on Wednesday and that he'll continue that fight. And so we thank him for that. But again, the roots of corruption are all around us, and we need to make sure that that stops.
Thanks. If the folks behind you don't mind just sitting down in case there's any people whose views are blocked, we appreciate them. You can see them from the front row.
Well, again, we wanted to make a point, Mr. President, that the bags of corruption are over at DWP. We're trying to make the changes because who's going to pay? The ratepayers of this great city are paying. They can't afford their water bills. And then the city workers are starting to pay. They're having to suffer because of mismanagement and the things that are taking place. Why should they suffer? Why should the ratepayers of this great city? Please vote for I&J Tuesday, and we thank you for that, Mr. President.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience this morning. Arnold Sachs is our next public speaker, and then we'll go back to Van Nuys, and John Camera will follow.
Thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. Fascinating, great discussion you had here on Wednesday regarding the sending a letter to Wisconsin about how poorly they're reacting to their budget deficit. Yesterday, in the Press Telegram, Ohio Senate passes bill to restrict public unions. You didn't send a message to Ohio. Not only does Ohio pass this bill to restrict unions, but they also include, whereas Wisconsin's bill exempts police and firefighters, Ohio's doesn't. And whereas Ohio's bill would ban strikes by public workers and establish penalties for those who do participate in walkouts. Unionized workers could negotiate wages, hours, and certain work conditions, but not health care, sick time, or pension benefits. Speaking of which, a great crowd here. But how come the city of LA's workers have 3 different unions negotiating their contracts? When the complaint is you're going to lose the ability to negotiate contracts. How come there was nobody here from DWP? According to one of these news articles, DWP workers get an average of 18% pay higher than the other 2 workers in the other unions. How is that so? Where is collective bargaining? How come that happened? The good news that occurred on Wednesday's meeting is we heard so many city council people get up and discuss their distaste to what happens in Wisconsin regarding how they're affecting the unions, that hopefully they'll recuse themselves when negotiations for pay raises for city employees come up, because how can you negotiate for the city when you have such strong feelings for the party you're negotiating against? Finally, I'd like to say, in addition, there was a time when you talked about a boycott in Arizona, and this is from 11/23/10, item on your agenda, for the annual City Council and Congress, the city's exposition to be held.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. I'm sorry, there was a new sentence, so got to keep it clear. Maybe we can talk about it on Tuesday. John Camera is our next speaker in Van Nuys.
Mr. President, council members, hi, good morning to you. I just want you to support items I and J for March 8th election, and we hope we get the public support as well as our elected officials. Thank you.
Dr. Clyde Williams, our next speaker here in council chambers. And let the record reflect he has a new hat on. Good to see you. Walter Bechtel will follow him.
Bright lights. Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Last night there was a bit of an interesting subject. The Sierra Club Transportation Committee has a resolution expressing our earlier opposition to any surface freeway and expand our opposition to any form of highway connection between the I-10 and the I-210 SR 134, i.e. Sierra Club opposes any State Route 710 North extension above, on, or below ground through LA and the rest of the eastern San Gabriel and western San Gabriel Valley. They also support the development of basically the multimode. There's a lot of ways of improving the congestion resulting from commuters. So we're looking forward to working with the City of Los Angeles, except for one thing. We don't know who is the recipient of the notice of preparation on Tuesday that was circulated within the City of Los Angeles. It may have been Public Works, may have been Department of Transportation. We'd like to find out who is the contact, because now they have 40 days to submit comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Walter Bechtel. After that will be John Walsh.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to say something. Last Wednesday, you guys did not have a quorum in time. I'm going by the UTC, Universal Time Clock, and exactly 10:15 a.m. I left the room and I said you did not have a quorum. I don't know what it means when you stop a meeting because of no quorum, and then sometimes, but Wednesday you didn't have a quorum, but you didn't stop the meeting. I think that if you're not going to be consistent, I don't know what you're up to here. I suspect that there's something else. Also, I want to say there's a person who comes in here who keeps advocating freedom of speech, Mr. Zuma Dog, and he's supposedly an advocate for homeless people, etc. But I just want to say, and he's been asked to leave the council meeting several times, I think the council should know if a person, if I've gone to his website and I've tried to post something on his blog page, on his comment, and Google Blogger says that the owner, is up to the owner whether or not he allows you to post a comment. Mr. Zuma Dog does not want people to post a comment, and I think if somebody is supposedly an advocate for freedom of speech, and he comes in here and he wants his freedom of speech, but he doesn't allow freedom of speech, I think that he shouldn't be allowed to say anything at all if he's not allowing anybody to say anything at his pages on his website. Also, the state of Florida just won a victory there against federal funding for their train. If the governor wants money to get money, I think that he should respectfully deny that the train that the Fed wants, the bullet train that we supposedly need here in California.
Thank you. Thank you. John Walsh is our next speaker. After that will be Richard Robinson. Good morning.
Good morning. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Please go to our website. The endorsements are there. If you're not voting for a city councilman, you will be voting for a full slate of community college board candidates. The LA Times has not endorsed in this race, in the community college board trustees race. Only we have. and also Clean Sweep. Go to cleansweep.com. Go to ronkla.com. Go to hollywoodhighlands.com and go to redevelopment.com. Redevelopment.com is anti-CRA. Well, I'm telling you right now that you wasted, an hour and a half, it was just awards, fine. But what we had here for a large portion of that time was campaign an event. Labange's was a campaign event disguised as an award. So was Weezer. And as a 25-year, someone who worked and also taught at Fairfax for one day as a substitute teacher, they had to rent about 15 chartered buses. This event cost the LAUSD about $2,000 to re-elect Weezer and Labange. Take that $2,000, I challenge you, out of your campaign money. I'm telling you right now, the Community Redevelopment Agency is scheduling meetings next week, special meetings. They said it at the last meeting. Watch out for meetings. HollywoodHighlands.org. You want to know who to vote for? Come to us. We'll tell you exactly what to do to get rid of these people. Yes, vote for Rudy Martinez. Yes, Stephen Box. Yes, for a number of the other candidates. We are going to shock the city. HollywoodHighlands.org.
All right, next speaker is Richard Robinson. After that is Armanak Norajanian.
Mr. President, members, spending is surging. Rick Orlov's Daily News is magnificent today. This article, here, let me... Stocks leap on strong reports. Jobless benefits fell to the lowest levels since May 2008. So, the stock market now at a whopping 12,258. Whoa. Pardon me for... I'm looking a little bit further down the road when it comes... And... So any penny chicken little Y2Kers and nattering nabobs of negativism, they should shut their mouths because the peace dividend is about to be awash in black ink. Now, what we should do is think in terms of supporting those who have the wisdom, like through your chair, sir, Mr. Parks knows that union jobs are valuable. He also knows that there's a certain amount of fat that, pardon me, this bureaucracy is wonderful, but it is a legacy of a man who brought on board some of the world's most gifted but not particularly bright folks who should be furloughed in terms of, like, maybe further down the road giving some more work. And finally, Adam Sandler has a new movie.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Armanak Norajanian is next. After that is Bruce Darian out in Van Nuys.
Respectable City Council members, dear fellow Angelinos, my name is Armanak Norajanian. I'm a Liberal Democrat and a writing candidate for District 8 Council. Actually, vote me in as a registered Liberal writing candidate, and I will reduce middle class and poor Angelian homeowners' taxes 40%, so that homeowners could have more savings to fix their dilapidated houses and long-term health problems. Actually, I will also introduce city ordinance to close down so-called medical marijuana dispensaries in Los Angeles, to stop report for Angelinos by dope dealers. About 56% of Californian voters will back me up. because we actually, majority of California voters rejected legalization of marijuana, rejected Proposition 19, according to MSNBC online TV report. I will expedite issuance of Section 8 housing assistance subsidy housing vouchers to all low-income Angelinos within just a few months, while poor workers, poor Angelino residents stand in line, signed a line for up to 4 years over lack of progressive will in the city government and lack of funds as well. I will actually raise taxes against those gasoline selling corporations big time, like as $6 for each gallon of oil being sold in the city of Los Angeles in order to eliminate budget deficit. And raise taxes against wealthy individuals who make more than $60,000 a year individually, about 50%. Also, don't vote for my reactionary opponent, Bernard Parks, because he only caters to the wealthy. He stays he doesn't care about poor residents of the city of Los Angeles. He doesn't care about business at all.
Thank you, sir. Bruce Darien is our next speaker, and Van Nuys. After that will be Michael Carrion here in Council Chambers. Good morning.
Good afternoon. Reverend Martin Luther King, Dr. King once said, it does not matter as much the violence of the bad people as much as the appalling silence of the good people. For more than a decade, I have battled in federal, in state appellate, and in superior court to uncover vast government and public contracting fraud. This has been not an easy task. It has cost me immense in my resources, in my time, and my career, my family. It has been hell. I have had the contractors that I worked with tell me that they would be my worst nightmare. And this has come to be. But I have stood forward to the people of Los Angeles strong, and I have documented both in the courts and publicly what has gone on to be a fraud with all levels of government. This is not new, and this will continue, but the appalling silence of the good people and the appalling silence of government officials under color of law, trying to circumvent the law to protect another's corrupt and evil deeds. We have to do something about it. America is failing. We are going down with the ship. Just as in the Titanic, when the bulkheads were breached, the ship could not stay. It had to go down. The course that we are on, America, and what is transpiring with all of the illegal activity, where crime is paying, where the prosecution, where the Justice Department only prosecutes maybe 2% of the cases that they know about, the crime that they know about, and thousands go unprosecuted. This cannot stand here in America. I am running for Congress in the 27th District. I am not here to get your vote. I am here to tell you that it is a sham.
Michael Carrion is our next speaker here in Council Chambers. If he's not here, we'll go back to Van Nuys. Ankar Patel is our next speaker. Welcome back.
You remembered me. Thank you. I'm feeling good. A lot of youth in the council today. We were talking about the youth a lot, right? At CSUN, we had a little bit of a protest the other day. You may or may not have heard about it. Education's an issue. Informed citizenry, right? That's what we're talking about here. Elections are coming up, and this next election seems, that's why I feel good. It seems like we have a nice pool of candidates. Historically, a lot of times, you guys run unopposed. This time, again, there's a huge pool of candidates. In CD4, the Daily News endorsed 2 separate candidates, neither of which were their incumbent. Stephen Box, the Daily News, and Tomas O'Grady, the LA Times. In other districts, Rudy Martinez, CD14. So I think you guys are sweating a little bit, but that's what this is about, right? We need to have this feeling of there's a chance for something to happen here. And on that youth note, something really interesting happened in CD6. The juvenile justice, Councilman Cardenas, very important. I'm on board with you there. But in CD6, the LA Times endorsed 27-year-old Rich Goodman. And I made some comments about the lack of, or there is diversity, and in other ways there's a lack of diversity in our representation. And youth has definitely been missing in our city council, in most government And Rich Goodman, 27 years old, economics, out of UCLA. That sounds real good to me. We have a chance to change, right? You see, we have a chance to do this. And I'm looking at this specific council race as something that I am happy about. I'm feeling good. I come here not to rant and rave, even though I sometimes do. I come here because I care, because I feel it, because I want to be a part of this. And vote for Rich Goodman.
Our next speaker is Jack Humperville. After that is Noel Weiss back here in council chambers. Good afternoon.
I'm with the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council. The Securities and Exchange Commission has taken a particular interest in ensuring full and complete disclosure by government entities. We've seen the SEC go after the state of New Jersey and the city of San Diego in recent alleging fraud on their parts. We've also seen the SEC make it much more difficult for the state of Illinois to issue its pension bonds by a thorough review that caused significantly more disclosure than the state wanted to do. The good news about Illinois, however, is that they were able to get their offering off. There was a lot of speculation whether they would be able to. Sold a lot of bonds in Europe and other various places. That's good news for LA because I think it means that we'll be able to tap the market for the tax and revenue anticipation notes. Although I must admit, I think that we're going to have some very interesting disclosure. I'm looking forward to reading the next official statement where I can learn a little bit more about the failure to fund our infrastructure, the failure of the city to adequately fund its pension plans, using all sorts of smoothing games to lower their payments. I know that also that the SEC is going to very much enjoy reading the city's next official statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humperville. Noel Weiss is our next speaker. We'll go back to Van Nuys for Rich Goodman after that.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. The presentations this morning, I think, bring forth again the importance of the idea or the characterization of the distinction, shall we say, between the power of love and the love of power. I noted a couple weeks ago Herb Wesson had a presentation. He said Ron Dellums was his inspiration, but he didn't say whether he was motivated by the love of power or the power of love. Maybe it's basically both. But I think the idea of respect, compassion, these are social values, social principles that kind of a lot of times run against the grain because the normal political way of doing things is to divide. Time for the city basically to unite. And when it comes to juvenile justice programs, we have one. We have one in Watts by the true progressive on this council, Janice Hahn, the Watts Gang Task Force. I know Mr. Cardenas visited the task force and possibly other members, but what we're trying to do in terms of the youth, we had high school here today, but what about the kids? What about the youth, first grade through eighth grade? What do we have for them? Now we have in the Valley, we have the Valley Youth Conference, but we don't have anything on this side of the hill, but we're starting it basically in Watts due to Councilwoman Hahn's support, a youth track and field program. Going forward, I think that would be nice if we duplicated it throughout. I've attended a lot of the debates, and I basically, in 45 seconds, have a suggestion. The people, I think the theme is common throughout. I don't care whether it's in Watts or Canoga Park or in Mr. Labange's district, CD12. It's a balance. It's a balance between jobs and housing. How do we basically move forward? The people want to know, you guys really don't have a housing policy, you don't have a transportation policy, you don't really have a discussion on these issues, and the structure doesn't allow for it. My suggestion is you take the Fridays, when you have a captive audience, you take these Fridays, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, every council member each Friday gives a report, if you will, a state of the district, and you allow for counter questions like they do in the English Parliament for another 10 or 15 minutes. I think it would be a terrific expression and the council working collectively. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for your patience as well. Rich Goodman, and then Wayne Katursky will follow. And Van Nuys.
Hello. Thank you, everybody. My name is Rich Goodman. I'm a candidate for City Council District 6 here in Van Nuys. You know, we have an election coming up this March 8th. And I want to encourage everybody in my community and everybody in Los Angeles to vote because it's so important. You know, our community needs change. We need to go above and beyond what has ever been done before in the past 8 years. You know, I was very lucky this past week that the LA Times endorsed my campaign because they saw in me my desire and my willingness to engage the community and work one-on-one and that's what I want to do. But ultimately, the endorsement that I look for is the endorsement of the community, the endorsement of the people that live in my district, of my neighbors. Because by working together as a community, we can achieve more than has ever been done before. I think we could do a lot more for Alexandra in Pacoima, who is in a wheelchair, and she has a hard time leaving her house because of the condition of the crumbling sidewalks outside of her house. I think we could do a lot more for Sarah, who's a retired lady I met in Van Nuys, who's worried about the motion that threatens to shift responsibility of the sidewalks to her and also for any liabilities. I think we could do a lot more for a lot of the children in my neighborhood. James, who's 7 years old, who makes sure that he has after-school programs to help him stay off the streets. But what I offer too is I look forward to working with the City Council also. And one of the things that I want to offer to everybody that's watching this is this, my phone number. I want to show everybody that I'm accessible. My number is 818-835-2011. Please give me a call, and I want to engage with you. And please visit Rich Goodman, and don't forget to vote on March 8th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Wayne Koterski in Van Nuys as well.
That's right. I just wanted to hear you say the name Koterski. That's one of your buddies. Where is it? We're all Koterskis. 1601 North Vine Street was supposed to be voted on today. Everybody at the CRA...
It was continued, sir, just so you know. We're going to talk about it on Wednesday.
Why? After the election. Do it before the election. Smith is there. He's going to be leaving. A couple other people going to be leaving. Weezer, he's going to have a hard time staying, but probably be there. So this is the most vetted project I've ever seen. I mean, you got Hal Koterski, bankrupt. You got Molly Berger. She's got $1 million on the table. The settlement has been approved. You got Christine Essel. She's written all the final reports. There could be 10,000 pages of documents about it. What else do you need to know? It stinks. It's corruption. But you don't care. It's like yesterday at the CRA meeting, I go for 5 hours. $930 million in projects, every single one approved. One of the last projects was called Special One at the CRA meeting to give a $1.9 million for a project already built, with the report saying there will be 3 jobs created for that $1.9 million. So there is no government. There is no Brown Act. Carmen Trutanich wants to prosecute those students. Now he's not going to prosecute the students. Why isn't he stopping the project? He ran for office. He's going to be the city's people's attorney. There is nobody representing us. It's just representing you and your friends. So if you're going to vote on it, get it over with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will close our general public comment. We'll go to public comment on item number 7 next. And our first speaker, and they've been very patient, is Donald Keller.
Mr. President, for clarification relative to item number 7, an amended ordinance has been submitted by the city attorney and has been distributed to council for their review. It's item 7A.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Donald Keller. I'm the Vice President of Brentwood Homeowners Association and speak on their behalf. Over 3,700 members in single-family residences, of which 70% are in hillside neighborhoods. And I'm speaking in favor of the hillside ordinance that is before you today. I want to commend the planning staff for their work on this project over 4 years. And some of their recommendations have been omitted from this ordinance, but we're still in favor of it. We'll go back to work with the planning staff in the future to put those items back in there. For example, I live next to 10 to 12 acres of hillside land never built on, and only maybe half of it is buildable. But in the future, without the additional work of the planning staff, some engineers and geologists will figure out to make the other half of it buildable. So we need that work, and I expect to work with the planning staff on that account. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time and your work on this as well. Wendy Sue Rosen is our next speaker. After that is Mark Stratton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Sue Rosen, and I'm here representing the Brentwood Residents Coalition. It has been a long road with this ordinance. We attended kickoff meetings, public workshops, 2 public hearings in front of the Planning Commission, 2 hearings in front of Plum, a City Council hearing. The ordinance went to City Attorney, and now we're back. And we're a bit disappointed that this is going to have to come back again for a second reading, but we enthusiastically support this ordinance. There are a lot of people to thank, and I'm going to try to do it in my minute that I have left. First, I'd like to thank Council Members Koretz and Council Member Rosendahl. At the last City Council hearing, they brought some motions that added some protections to this ordinance that we really support. They worked with us in committee. It was very important. I want to thank the planning staff, Charlie Roush, Eric Lopez, Jennifer Driver. Very important for getting really the details. They really got it. They got it for us here. And I just really encourage everyone to vote yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony today. Mark Stratton is our next speaker. After that will be Lois Becker. Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Mark Stratton, and I'm here from Bel Air Skycrest. I, too, want to support the ordinance. I want to thank Mr. Rosendahl and Koretz for supporting it, and a lot of good work has gone into this, and it's time to get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Lois Becker is next. After that is Robert Warner. Good afternoon.
I'm Lois Becker. I'm president of Bel Air Skycrest Property Owners Association. We really want this to pass, and we want to add our thanks to the council members and to Charlie Roush, Eric Lopez, and Jennifer Driver for all the good work they've done. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Warner is next. After that is Audrey Gallant.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm a Sherman Oaks resident, and I'm here also in support of this proposed baseline hillside ordinance. We've all seen what disproportionate development does citywide. It's a blight, and it drives down our home values as well. So I'm here to urge that you pass this ordinance. It's reasonable, it's sensible, and it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Audrey, is it Gallant or Gallant? Gallant. Gallant, and after that is Ann Beisch.
And I'm simply here to support this ordinance and ask that we stop making it so easy to uglify our city.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Ann Beisch is next. John Walsh will follow. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of City Council. My name is Ann Beisch. I'm here as a homeowner and also as a member of the Bel Air Association and the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. For the last long haul, 4 to 5 years, we have supported this law. And today, and hopefully in the future, we will go forward. Please finalize this law. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you. John Walsh is next. After that is Amos Barone.
John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org. I want to thank the people who came before me. What you have here is the tightening of the ordinance. And what we have here is an attempt to prevent cancerous single-family growth in the hills. The great danger in the hills is fire. And you know what? I want to compliment you, because at your worst, you had better rules up there in our hills than they had in Oakland. Does anyone remember the Oakland fire? One of the worst fires in history. Killed dozens of people in Oakland because they didn't give a damn. They let everybody build anything they wanted in Oakland, and what happened? The fire next time. People were killed. Am I the only one who remembers that horrendous fire about 10 or 12 years ago? I want to thank these people, because the great danger in the hills is fire and evacuation, and this will prevent the cancerous growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Amos Maron is next. Is Mr. Maron? Not Ms. Douglas Reed here. He had to leave? Mr. Reed? If not, Omer Zalmanowitz. Ellen Scott will follow. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to say that this is with regards to the ordinance. I'm in support of it. Specifically, I'm a resident of Beverly Hills. In Franklin Canyon, in the city of Beverly Hills, there's a partnership of the Mountain Recreation Conservancy Authority, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and the National Park Services. A developer has closed that land. It is a state and federal land. Last Monday, on February 28th, just a couple of days ago, an SMMC member, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy member, has wondered what assurances were given by a developer up at the hillside, what assurances were given that the organization was lulled to sleep by this developer, and they don't even know what project is being built on top of the hill. So it is definitely out of control if the custodian of the park don't even know what's being built. So if federal agencies and state agencies are being lulled to sleep by developers, then I am fervently in support of this ordinance to be passed. This is one among many reasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ellen Scott is our next speaker. After that will be Marion Dodge.
Hi, I'm Ellen Scott, a hiker, and basically I'm here with Save Franklin Canyon, and we figure that anything that stops development saves our canyons. Anything that hinders development to some degree saves our canyons. I want to give a shout out to Councilman Koretz for adding protective measures to this, and for Councilman Rosendahl for supporting that. So let's get this ordinance passed. Thanks.
Thank you. Marion Dodge is next. After that is Robert Anderson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Marion Dodge. I'm president of the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Associations, which represents 33 homeowner organizations across the Santa Monica Mountains. We urge you to support the baseline hillside ordinance. We have been anxiously awaiting for something. Yes, I see you nodding. We've been anxiously awaiting for something to protect our hillsides. I particularly want to thank Councilmember LaBonge for his initiative in this matter, and I'd also like to thank the Planning Department, Charlie Roush, Eric Lopez, Jennifer Driver for their outstanding outreach to the public, for their willingness to take our input and to listen to us. So thank you very much, and please, please pass the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Anderson is our next speaker. After that is Wayne Spindler and Van Nuys.
I'm Bob Anderson. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. We represent about 3,000 homes in the hills of Sherman Oaks, and we strongly support the ordinance. We have participated in its development since the beginning, and I personally have attended every meeting that's occurred on this. I do also want to thank the Planning Department, Charlie Rouse, Jennifer Driver, Eric Lopez. I think they presented here an example of the way outreach should be conducted and got the community, all people who were for and against it, involved and worked with them. And I think this is very important and should serve as a model for the way this type of thing should be done. I want to thank Councilman Krikorian for all his work on Plum on this, and Councilman Koretz for his support at the last City Council meeting. We very much appreciated what you did. We also want to get a few things back into it that we're taking out, but we are very, very strong supporters. I supported enough that I personally read it line by line and compared it to the City Council, the Planning Commission, June 2010 version to make sure nothing got left out, and it didn't. There's one typo, Sean told me. But we're very happy with this, and please pursue it and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Van Nuys, Wayne Spindler is our next speaker, then Jason Booth back here in council chambers.
Yeah, this affects Benedict Canyon. Interesting thing about Benedict Canyon, they have a homeowners association there, a lot of stars and people like that. They join it, they pay a fee. It's not nominal, it's a good solid fee for good work that they do in that area. But there's an unusual thing. They share a zip code, a very famous zip code, 90210, and they share that with Beverly Hills proper. A couple of years ago, or recently, there was a move by the city of Beverly Hills to jettison the Los Angeles City portion of that zip code and get it away from them to give them exclusivity of the zip code. There was a fierce battle, and ultimately they decided to go down and not continue with that. This is the area that is called Beverly Hills. Includes the City of Los Angeles portion and the real Beverly Hills. And the people in the real Beverly Hills are very irate about the way that the other portion of the zip code that calls itself Beverly Hills is run and is managed. And what you have to do with these kind of things is you need to put everything you're doing in development in line with what the City of Beverly Hills does. So you have the same equivalent building code standards for those hills that you have for the City of Beverly Hills, so that when somebody buys a home or a property in the Los Angeles version of what's called Beverly Hills, that it's meeting the requirements of the City of Beverly Hills. Because if you don't, then property values are being negatively affected in the city portion of what's called Beverly Hills. And the Benedict Canyon Association many times has come to the CD5 offices, and they get almost no help. Help these people in Benedict Canyon and support them. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jason Booth. After that will be Stephen Wemberg.
Support this measure. 21 years ago, in about 3 weeks from now, I had a beautiful Beverly Hills wedding in the hills of Beverly Hills. And it was the cheapest wedding that you've ever would have been to, because I had it in Franklin Canyon Park. And I paid for it myself, hired a judge and an accordion player. My dad bought a few trash cans, filament ice and champagne, and we had a wonderful wedding. I have a picture of it right here. And thank you. And my parents are gone now, but at least my in-laws are gone. And but I regularly take my kids to Franklin Canyon and show them where I got married, and one day I would like to see one of them get married there, and I think they might. But if this ordinance doesn't pass, the beauty of that spot will be diminished. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that personal history. Stephen Wemberg is our next speaker, and then Barbara Nichols.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Weinberg, and I'm here on behalf of residents of Coldwater Canyon and also the Save Franklin Canyon organization. I don't have anything like a wedding to tell you about. That's
you got to top the last speaker. Come on.
I just wanted to show my support for the baseline hillside ordinance. A lot of work has gone into this legislation. I think it's very fair, it's very balanced, and it's something that the council should pass easily. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Appreciate it. Barbara Nichols? After that is Serko Kachadurin.
Good morning to everyone on the City Council. I would also like to extend thanks to our council representative, Councilman Koretz, for his assistance. Contrary to the speaker from Van Nuys, I am Barbara Nichols, representing the Benedict Canyon Association and our 2,600 residents in Benedict Canyon. I'd also like to extend thanks to Eric Lopez and his staff in planning. They've done an excellent job working with us. We highly encourage the council to pass the mansionization ordinance for the hillsides. We've been working on this for a couple of years. It needs to be passed. We have one project now that someone is trying to get approved for an 84,000 square foot complex. If you can imagine 84,000 square feet up in the Santa Monica Mountains. We did not include in this mansionization ordinance a ridge line ordinance. We have every intention, all of us in our communities, of coming back again to the City Council and asking you to pass a ridgeline ordinance. One was passed for the county several years ago, and we would like to protect the ridgelines of the Santa Monica Mountains. Once they're lost forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Serko Kachaturian is our next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Serko Kachaturian. I'm here to oppose the ordinance. I am a vice president of a firm. We built a limited number of homes in the hills. We've done about 10 so far. And this is not an ordinance that is putting regulations on the construction. It's just stopping the construction. I urge you to vote against it. It's an unreasonable burden. Everybody's all excited because it's stopping construction. It is not putting rules on limiting or regulating it. Thank you.
Thank you. That will close the public hearing on this item. We'll go to our Planning and Land Use Management Chair, who helped shepherd this as well, Mr. Reyes. Then we'll hear from Mr. Labange and Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank everyone that came here today. I want to thank you for your patience. I know there's been a long haul. And today, colleagues, we're looking at an amended ordinance that we would like to move that just specifies some technical details, but the ordinance in of itself stays intact as we were able to come to a level of consensus. And it happens because, as the speakers have noted, the hard work from our staff, our planning staff. I want to thank Charlie Rausch, Eric Lopez, Jennifer Driver, Daniel Radian, Oliver Nathian, also from Building and Safety, Ifa Kashifa, thank you. Our City Attorney, Ken Fong, he hit this one out of the park, thank you, sir, making it happen, and Guadalupe Duran Medina from my office. So yes, we've been to Plum twice, now we're in council, we need 12 votes, second reading, and we should be done. So I thank you guys for your support. Thank you, colleagues, for your support. And let's make it happen. Thank you very much.
Good job, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Labange, our next speaker.
Thank you very much, members of the City Council. Mr. Reyes, let's give Mr. Reyes a big hand as chair of Plum and all the work that you've done, whether it's in your own district, Ed, or the Los Angeles River, which is the backbone of the heart of the city, and now in the Hillside Ordinance. In 2006, in June, I introduced a motion. And I only wish Mr. Koretz was here sooner, because he probably would have seconded it, but I introduced a motion. And that motion started this action off. And it had the support of Mr. Reyes, Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Garcetti, Mr. Weston. I thank you for your support, Miss Wendy Gruhl. And all of a sudden, this took time. And you see what a calming effect today is, because that time brought where there was the needed for compromise, the needed to balance out, whatever the challenges are. Because everybody here in this room supports it. No one stepped on that mic. I want to thank the Federation of Hillside Homeowners. And the Hillside homeowners are very important as a voice. And in my life to help this city, the greatest accomplishment I had was, I believe, the one to gather the 138 acres of Cahuenga Peak. That mountain which we all see, and I thank the council members greatly for that. We all see that there's one tree that was protected from a fire by Chief Kawai and Battalion 5. That one magic tree. And it's magic in the hills, and I hope everybody gets the hills, from the hills of El Sereno to the hills that surround the rim of the valley, to the Santa Monica Mountains, to the beautiful hills of San Pedro and Palos Verdes. It's important for these to be protected. Because what we have to always remember is every piece of land is going to be built on. And when it's built on wrong, it ruins it. And the young man who is now probably gone to get his daughter who spoke about the wedding, he already went out to get the license over at the county building. He left already. But anyway, that's another story. That opportunity exists because this was crafted. And Charlie, you've been here 35 years. That's the plus experience. I don't know if it's 35, Charlie. How many years is it? 35. I got it right. Okay. That's experience that counts with our planning department and our planning staff. So I wanted just to say thank you. It's a great day of accomplishment. And you did all the work, Planning Plum Committee. Mr. Krikorian, your work, Mr. Koretz, your work, Mr. Reyes, and all who are on that. So I want to thank everybody and say it's so important, whether it's the Cahuenga Pass, Laurel Canyon, Coldwater Canyon, Benedict Canyon, all those canyons, Baldwin Hills is so important to look at that. El Sereno, Silver Lake, all the hills, the rim of the valley, the West Valley, all of that's so important. Because there's nothing like when you get on top of a mountain and you're able to see the sunrise or the sunset. And today, when the sun sets, we'll know that the next time there's 12 members in this House, this matter will pass. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl and then Mr. Koretz.
Second reading, and I'm sure we'll get 8 because we need 10 to have a quorum here. I just want to thank two groups. First of all, the city and all of its staff, and especially Mr. Reyes and his leadership that he showed with an open mind and open ears to listen. That's the key. I got to thank my community that got up and spoke, because I listened to what my folks say in Brentwood and the Palisades and in the canyons that are very critical to us. And to see smiles on their face knows that we've gone in the right direction. There were some issues, obviously, in some of my areas there. We don't need to go into it. But the fact that we can come together, this is democracy at its best. So I want to thank everybody who participated, all my colleagues that participated, but especially Mr. Reyes for the patience and the continued interest in making this thing happen for all of us. But thank you all. Bless you all. Onward and upward.
Mr. Koretz. Well, thank you. I think everything's been said beautifully, so I don't have too much to add, other than when I first got elected, and from that time, protecting the hillsides has been a very top priority for me. It's absolutely critical. We still have some things left to do, but I also want to thank Mr. Reyes for following through on this process, Mr. Labange for starting it, all the other council members who have been involved, and particularly the Hillside Federation and all the community people that have done the work to make this happen. This is a great day, and I thank you all for your good work.
Mr. Garcetti. Thank you. I'll just, in closing, let me thank Mr. Labange. I was proud to be alongside you as a seconder, Mr. Rosendahl and Mr. Koretz for shepherding this through, and for Mr. Reyes for your leadership as always in Plum. Two things define this city. It's our hills and our ocean. Sometimes you can see one from each and the other from the other as well. It is the defining characteristic, and oftentimes we think of it just as a West LA thing. I grew up in the Valley, I've lived in West LA. All the way that backbone goes to my district, and Mr. Reyes and Mr. Weezar's districts are that same backbone. Lived in Elysian Heights up until a couple weeks ago, lived about 10 blocks away in Silver Lake, in the hills right there. And I remember the day I graduated from high school, all my friends said, "Where do you want to go to celebrate? We finally graduated." And I said, "Let's go to the hills." And we all have those memories of hikes, of moments in life when we gaze out at the city and see the limitless expanse. Let's protect that, let's preserve it, and today we'll be able to do that. Procedurally, I think everybody knows in the audience, ordinance on its first reading requires 12 or above unanimously, or a week later, just simple 8, and it doesn't have to be unanimous, so this will be law next week. Thank you very much, and we appreciate you all being here and your hard work on this as well.
That completes the speakers. Now it's time to vote. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Mr. President, for clarification, that will go over to a second read on March 18th.
March 18th for the final reading. Mr. Reyes?
Items 3 and 6, please.
Number 3 and 6 forthwith for Mr. Reyes. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
That brings us to item 8, called Special for Cars.
Number 8. Dr. Williams, Dr. Clyde Williams. Dr. Clyde Williams has left the chambers. John Walsh. John Walsh, followed by Arnold Sachs. Then we will go to the San Fernando Valley. So John Walsh, then Arnold Sachs.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Go for endorsements. Facebooking at Mickey Jackson, M-I-K-I. I would ask that those who are watching this go to the concession contract audit and look at this, the number of non-compliance issues they have discovered. Because there is nothing more oofty-goofty and crooked in this city than the concession contracts. And there's nothing among the concession contracts that produces more corruption than the LAX contracts. No, when you get an LAX contract, a concession, it's like printing money. There are no ex-LAX contractors. There are no ex-LAX contractors. Thank you.
Arnold Sachs. And we'll go to San Fernando Valley. And for clarification, number 22 will be continued to Tuesday rather than Wednesday. Number 22 continued to Tuesday rather than Wednesday, Mr. Clerk.
Tuesday, March 8th, sir.
Very well. Mr. Sachs.
Thank you. Good morning, or good afternoon. Concession contracts. Hopefully, when the concession contracts were put out to bid, the bids, as Councilman Parks remarked regarding the concession contracts at LAX, looked very good. It wasn't about the contract selection process that was any concern. It was the fact that we had good-looking contract bids put together by the departments involved in requesting them. I'm also wondering, maybe they used the same kind of auditing for the contract bid that's used for the concession at LAX for the taxi cab holding lot. Oh wait, there is no contract bid for the concession that's parked at the taxi cab holding lot. Why? Because the city doesn't need that extra $300,000 a year that bid gives to the authorized taxi cab supervision company, not a city department. It's amazing when you think of all the behind-the-scenes negotiations or tomfoolery that would go on with the contract negotiations. Hopefully, they had people who would stand up for them, such as that occurred at LAX. Thank you.
San Fernando Valley, Wayne Katersky.
That's right, we are all Katerskis. So, what do we got? Audits and reports. You have a meeting that's scheduled at 10 o'clock. It's almost 1 o'clock now, and we're just starting to talk about agenda items. This is what's going on. Now, over here at the Van Nuys office, they didn't even give us a printed schedule here today to even look at what's on this meeting today. There's nothing here. You got to look at the screen and see what's on there, and you get like 16 words of what's happening here. You don't need all of these audits and meetings and committees and everything. The bottom line is that whatever area, whichever of the 15 council districts it's in, whatever the councilman wants, they're going to get it. It's a unanimous vote. You don't have to keep reporting about things. It's not, you don't have to pretend anymore. It's not you don't have to go around and have reports from Wendy Gruhl's office and another supplemental report to know that to get a concession contract in this city, you've got to be a campaign donor, and a big one. And then you've got to have millions of dollars more to pay these living wages and all of this gobbledygook that normal businesses don't need to comply with. You could go onto let's say, the Van Nuys golf course. Look at the disaster. They used to have a restaurant there. It's owned actually by the airport. Owns a little golf course. There was a place called Billingsley's. A wonderful gentleman. There was Barbara Billingsley's son ran it. He had to close because it would cost so much money that you guys at the city overregulated. He closed that wonderful restaurant and had to leave. So real business people cannot compete. Only the big special interests can compete. Don't waste your time with this stuff. Thank you.
That matter is before us, colleagues. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 14, called special for cards.
13,
14, sir.
14. Arnold Sachs, number 14. Followed by John Walsh. Followed by Wayne Spindler.
They're in the back. The back counts as the front. We've already discussed this. The back is the front is the back. Thank you. A citywide list of special events, modifying the citywide. I've heard that verb used before, modifying. What does that mean? There's a list that does that include like the Laker games and the Kings games and I don't know, the sports game, any sporting event? What exactly is on the citywide list of special events? You know, it took an edict to get you to consider special events. Now we have concerns regarding cell phone usage, but we still have special events that are exempt from paying costs for public service. Wendy Gruhl said she'd rather have police on the street than have people have cell phones. So wouldn't you rather have police on the streets than have special event fees waived for special events? It's mind-boggling. Thank you.
John Walsh.
There's no quorum here. Only Zine and Hahn are in their seats. I just want you to know out there, only Zine and Hahn. Now say I'm a liar. There's only Zine and Hahn in their seats here. That's the contempt here. They're outside, they're in the back. The cameras can show you what's happening. It's an illegal meeting. I shouldn't be talking. Now Krikorian has sat down. We're up to 4 out of 15. I'm telling you, this is a joke, the city council. And Hollywood Highlands tomorrow is your Tuesday, your chance. We'll take them out of their seats. We'll take them all out of their seats.
Spoken about item 14 yet.
Is there a quorum, Mr. City Attorney?
That's not the subject matter, Mr.
I'm not out of
Walsh.
order, because there is no meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for your comments.
And for the record, there is a quorum.
It's not your fault.
Who's here? Who's in their seat?
We're not going to debate the issue. You don't have to be in your seat to be in the room. Wayne Katursky.
All right, we're all Katurskis here. We have, again, it's almost 1 o'clock, and we're sitting here, well, it's going to be 1 o'clock in a few minutes, and we have to wait all of these hours to have 2 minutes at a podium about these issues. This is not the way. That's why the prior speaker's probably so upset. I mean, he's been sitting there, and I saw Mr. Walsh. He was at another meeting with the CRA yesterday for 5.5 hours, and these people very patiently in the community, the few who come out, they speak on these matters, to try to maybe 1 out of the 15 council people would ever listen, and
This
maybe vote their
speaker is
conscience.
not speaking about item 14 yet.
Well, it's all about the same thing. There's no quorum, for example. As the man's saying, you have to have 10 human beings at the meeting, and he's counting 8 people. So why isn't the city clerk calling the roll to determine if there is a quorum?
You're not on the subject matter, and you are not even in council chambers to know how many people are here.
You have a live witness who's making...
If you were here, you'd see the seats are filled with council representatives. I'm not going to debate the issue. Get back on subject, or we'll go to the next matter.
Yeah. Okay. So...
This is about the NAACP 42nd Annual Image Awards.
Very good.
That's the subject. Your comments, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
The reason you have a list of these events is for free money, for free security, for free police services, for free services to close streets and take our city taxpayer dollars and divert it for private-funded matters. That's the reason why you have a list. You don't have to have a list except if you're going to give free money away for security and street clearance, and that's why you have a list. There should be no list. It should be abolished. Thank you.
You're welcome. Armin Norodjunian.
It's almost over.
Respectable city council members, dear fellow Angelinos, actually, as a human rights advocate and big supporter of affirmative action, I definitely endorse item 14, it's a motion to include NAACP 42nd Annual Image Award into a list of citywide list of special events, because it's actually with recognition of city government, actually adopting politics of affirmative action. Policy of affirmative action are very important for the city in order to to receive good wealth and to hire workers, including that includes racial minorities, African Americans, and the Hispanic workers, that need your protection, need your very much your attention, because we're the ones that are being discriminated against. We're the ones that are being denied employment opportunity. Maybe some people will laugh at that, but excuse me, you don't want to have riots over lack of equal opportunity, like in 1991, when actually Hollywood, was Walk of Fame was actually burnt out, and also. Also, very much, I also pledge my very much my personal commitment. I pledge my personal commitment to the cause of NAACP, to the cause of affirmative action, which I hold very dear, and most of the progressive Angelino public, Los Angeles people will support. And actually, I think that City Council moves in the progressive direction. Progressive direction? Yeah.
Thank you for your comments, and that matter is now before us for a vote. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please. Forthwith on that. Next item, please.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 18, called Special for Cards.
John Walsh. John Walsh has left the chambers. Arnold Sachs. You have 1 minute left, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you. I mentioned this fact regarding street furniture revenue fund. You have items on your agenda where the CRA is going to spend some money. But my concern now is because this is in Council District 3. And I believe the councilman for that district just said the council is full of, the seats in the council are full of council members. But I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The subject matter is funding for beautification project in CD3, not the seats in the council chamber, sir. So the subject matter is the funding for the project. Stay on that subject, please.
And the person who represents CD3 is the same person who's spouting off about math problems here. So my concerns are how this money is going to be spent. If they count invisible numbers, then what the public needs to be concerned about how this money is going to be spent. Because people in here were saying there's only 7 people in the chambers.
Thank you. Your time is now up. We'll go to the San Fernando Valley for Wayne Katursky. Wayne Katursky. The man has left. That matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, please.
Mr. President, that brings us to special number 1. I believe the city attorney is going to speak to the findings.
Mr. City Attorney, please direct us on number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since Since the posting of today's agenda, HUD has notified the LAHD that it had approved the city's $9.8 million NSP3 application. Immediate action is required to accept the grant today in order to secure the funding during the continuing uncertainty about the federal budget. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
On the findings, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Matters before us, Mr. Wesson. On Special 1, authored by Mr. Wesson. Mr. Wesson, Special 1, you are the author of Special 1 on the $9 million housing from the...
Move it.
Los Angeles Housing Department, $9 million?
Move it.
All right.
So anyway.
No one has any other comments on the matter? Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That matter is approved. Next item, please. Make that forthwith. Due to the
Mr.
time.
President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Perry requests to arrive at 11 on April 12 due to city business. That meets council policy.
That's approved.
Councilmember Hahn requests to be excused on April 5, 6, 12, 13, 15, 19, 26, and 27 due to personal business. That meets council policy.
Well, we're going to discuss that one. That's approved.
The desk is clear.
Okay. Announcements, colleagues. Any announcements? Mr. Cardenas, announcement.
Yes, I just want to invite the community out to Brantford Recreation Center, which is at 13306 Brantford Street in Arleta. We're going to have a recycle your used motor oil opportunity. So free of charge, you can bring your motor oil to the park. We will have the proper facilities and individuals to take it from you to make sure that it's disposed of legally and properly. Disposing motor oil like people did in the old days is not a good idea. People used to pour it into the ground or what have you, and we know better now, thank God that we do. But the city is here to help and make sure that we can dispose of it safely and properly, and the city will collect that motor oil for free this Saturday, tomorrow, March 5th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. At Brantford Recreation Center, one of our parks, at 13306 Brantford Street in Arleta. It's on Brantford Street. That's spelled B-R-A-N-F-O-R-D. And the big cross street there is Woodman in Brantford. It's a few blocks off of Woodman on Brantford Street in Arleta.
Thank you. Mr. Kokorian? Mr. LaBonge.
Members, yesterday, along with Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, Jonathan Feeling, doctor in charge of the health for the County of Los Angeles, instituted what will take place next Tuesday is the ban on smoking and dining. We're not going to allow that anymore in Los Angeles. We were joined together at the ESPN zone at LA Live, which is a smoke-free zone as it is now, for the good health advocates. Very proud. Mr. Parks was a champion of this but the great champion was Mr. Smith, who brought this to us in our committee. We had several hearings. Through those hearings, we brought a coalition of people that all stood together and effected the change, which will go into effect this Tuesday. So I just wanted to say, for a good breath, clean air, and better to tell a joke than have a smoke. So thank you very much.
And is there a joke, Mr. LaBonge?
No. The joke is smoking. Don't smoke.
Oh, okay.
Don't smoke anymore.
Any other announcements, colleagues? I have two. One is, for those of you who want to support the LAPD Baker to Vegas, there's a buffet dinner fundraiser at the historic Olvera Street from 3 to 6 this evening. El Paseo Inn on Olvera Street, 11 Olvera Street, to support the Baker to Vegas teams for the annual run from our law enforcement community. Also, I'd like to announce and congratulate the Woodland Hills Sunrise Little League opening day tomorrow at the field, Winnetka and Victory. All public is invited. There'll be a large parade of the Little Leaguers. That is tomorrow morning at Winnetka and Victory, 8 a.m. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, in Westchester tonight, the food trucks are going to be there, and it's a very positive food trucks. This is the 5th time they're going there, and what they do when they come is take an area in the business community that doesn't impact anybody other than it adds to. 1,000 people are going to show up. They're going to be able to go into the shops and buy what they want and maybe have something to eat. So there's a collaborative effort among the food trucks and my Westchester community group. Tonight, 5 o'clock, I'll be there with them until 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other adjourning motion? Any other announcements? Now we'll go for adjourning motions. Adjourning motions. Announcement. Excuse me, Mr. Krikorian. Announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Very briefly, today is the day in which Armenians throughout Los Angeles and throughout the world celebrate the Feast of Vartanants. This is the feast day in which Armenians commemorate a battle that took place in the year 451, in which Armenian forces were outnumbered, vastly outnumbered by Persian forces, and under the leadership of Vartan Mamegonian, defended their faith and defended their culture against those who were oppressing them. And so this is a day that we remember. Although they lost on the battlefield that day, the Armenian people continued to survive, and their status as the first Christian nation in the world continued to survive. And so we join Armenians throughout the world in remembering that moral victory, even though it was not a victory on the battlefield.
Very well. And one more announcement that no one has made about Tuesday. Tuesday is Election Day. We have ballot measures, council members up for election. Please don't forget to vote on Tuesday. Dion, is that okay, Mr. City Attorney? Thank you. No endorsements, just vote. Thank you. All right, adjourning motions. Mr. Cardenas, adjourning motions. Please stand in the chambers. Adjourning motions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, council colleagues. I just want to announce that next week, at the first opportunity, we will appropriately honor and respectfully adjourn in the memory of the grandmother of a good friend of mine, Gus Villela. He just called me about 20 minutes ago that his 93-year-old grandmother, who raised him, just passed away. She was battling an illness for quite a bit of time. She is now in a better place. She did suffer quite a bit of pain in the last few weeks of her life. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman, and we'll take the opportunity next week to adjourn in her memory so we can speak of her accolades and her braveness and all the wonderful things that she's done in her 93-year life. Doña Angela just passed away about a half hour ago.
Ms. Hahn?
I'd like us to adjourn in the memory of Joe Ibarra, who just recently passed away at the age of 69. Joe was a member and officer of the ILWU Local 26 for over 40 years. He started his union career at Max Factor Cosmetics in the early 60s, then became a business agent in 1966, and went on to become vice president and then president of Local 26, a position he held for many, many years. During his time, he doubled the size of his local. In 1982, he became a Southern California regional director of the ILWU, and in 1994, Joe was elected to the International Secretary-Treasurer, and after 3 terms in office, retired in August of 2003. His philosophy was a true representation of what trade unionism is based on. His entire life was spent in service to his union, brothers and sisters, his family, and his community. He will be greatly missed by many friends and family. He was preceded in death by his son, Michael Ibarra, and sister, Juana Ibarra. Joe is survived by his wife, Elisa, 4 children, David, Angel, Monica, Gary Ibarra, and 10 grandchildren and many nieces and nephews. The memorial services are held today at Hope Chapel in San Pedro, and then a reception hosted by ILWU to commemorate his many years of service and to celebrate his life will be held this afternoon at the ILWU Memorial Hall in Wilmington.
Mr. LaBonge.
For the record again, Ollie Matson, the great San Francisco, University of San Francisco All-American who was drafted in the first round in 1952 and later played for the Los Angeles Rams. 9 members were traded of the Rams for Ollie. He was an Olympian in 1952, won the bronze in the 400 meters and a silver medal in the 1800-meter relay. He was also just a great human being. He passed here in Los Angeles. His memorial service is coming up this weekend on Saturday at 11 a.m. at the First Baptist Church at 760 South Westmoreland Avenue. He's survived by his wife, Mary, and his son, Ollie Matson, Jr. He was a great inspiration to many people and many generations here in Los Angeles when he did play for the Rams. I again ask we adjourn and member all members, Ollie Mattson. Thank you.
Adjourning motions, I have two adjourning motions. The first is Alejandrina Baca, born January 2nd, 1941 in Saltillo, Mexico, known to her family and friends as Nina, came to the United States as a young woman, met her husband here, Teofilo Baca. Later in life they had 3 children, but before joining parenthood, they would spend many weekends with families enjoying the local parks in Los Angeles. Family finally settled in San Fernando Valley, never left, married 44 years. Oldest son, Los Angeles police officer Rudolph Baca, who has 2 children, Nicholas and Sophia. Son, Teofilo Jr., who has a son, Ian, and the youngest, Laura, who has 2 children, Madison and Jake. Nina worked for many years as a kindergarten teacher assistant, role model to her children, every child she met, also taught Sunday school at her church, enjoyed everything from short walks to distant travels, visited many places, starting with the Bahamas to Belgium, Italy, France, Maui twice, and finally Israel. Sadly passed away from cancer December 23rd, greatly missed by all her family and friends. May she rest in peace. And the second adjourning motion, colleagues, Nancy Carr passed away on February 18th, Senior Vice President Corporate Communications for Hallmark Channels, died at the age of 50 after suddenly falling severely ill. 20-year veteran PR. Joined Hallmark in 2005 as VP Corporate Communications. Before that, she spent 15 years at CBS, rising to VP Communications, where she oversaw publicity for the network's movies and ministries, as well as such series as CSI Miami, Everybody Loves Raymond, and Without a Trace. Served on the Board of Governors of the TV Academy, served as treasurer of the TV Publicity Executives Committee, also very passionate about cat rescue. Hallmark Channels is saddened by the passing of their friend and colleague, grateful to Nancy for guiding the company's corporate media strategy for more than 5 years. CBS remembers Nancy as the architect behind some CBS biggest miniseries and live event campaigns, as well as an exceptionally dedicated colleague, most importantly, a kind and caring person, member of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and treasurer of the Television Publicity Executives Committee, also was active in the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. No service held, but people continue to be invited to make a donation to 2 organizations which Nancy supported and meant a lot to her, feralcattakers.org and fixednation.org. Survived by her husband, Ronnie Bradford, who recently retired from KNX News Radio, a good friend. May she rest in peace, Nancy Carr. Tom Labange? Mr. Kokori, Mr. Labange, also on the adjourning motion. No other adjourning motions. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. This will conclude our meeting for today. Friday, we will return on Tuesday. Remember, Tuesday is election.